Greetings, Battle Brothers. It's me, Aurelia Tempris, Defender of the Golden Throne and Servant of Humanity. Welcome in, everyone. Welcome in. I hope you're all doing well. Hello, hello, hello. Reporting for duty, boss. Yay. Glad you're here. Glad you can make it. Let's see here. Let's get this live chat up. Foreskin, thank you so much for the 2 months with Prime. It's a great use of your Prime sub. Highly recommend. Wife of Sanguinius? Yes, that's me. That's me. Hello, hello. It's an ad break. Don't say anything interesting. Okay. Okay. I won't. I won't. Okay, you guys will find this, you guys will find this very interesting. So I was on the Twitter today, and I was looking around. Okay, I'll hydrate really fast. I'm not an Eldar. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not an Eldar. I'm an abhuman. So I was on Twitter, and a prominent VTuber by the name of Chibidoki was giving some tips on what to do when it came to making shorts and other like short form content for TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all of that. And I saw something very interesting. One of her recommendations, well, you know, first off, post and like be consistent, but she says she found the sweet spot for like growth is to post 2 shorts a day. And I'm like, I'm already suffering making sure I get out 1 short a day. How am I supposed to do 2? Yeah. First time here, hope it's interesting. I hope you find me interesting. Well, we'll see about that. We'll see about that. You must listen to the advice. Didn't you just tell me the other day to sleep? We'll build up to 2 shorts a day, maybe. Maybe I'll do it where it's like maybe 3 days a week I'll do 2. Yeah, it is a bit extreme. She was just giving like what her experience was. It's not like, you know, the end all be all. I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing, and if I have time to make extra ones, I will. But I was like, oh no, this is not good. I already don't get a lot of sleep. If I want to make more shorts, the short minds, they desire me. They desire me. Simply give up on quality and pump out more slop. I'm very picky about my shorts. They have to like make sense in my mind. Like they have to be at least a little funny. You know, I have to beat the stereotype. Hello, largest avocado. Good to have you. Good to have you. How am I doing today? I'm doing well. I'm feeling pretty good today. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get my workout in before stream, so I have to do it after. I think I'm a little run down because I did not get the happy chemicals from doing my workout earlier today. Yeah, so it's a bit rough, but that's okay. That's okay. Boss, you have a devoted group of clippers. No, I appreciate my clippers. Honestly, the clippers are really, really helpful. They help me narrow down where like the funny moments are. So huge thank you to my clippers, who do a ton of work for me because it's a lot easier to make shorts when they make all the wonderful clips. Happy chems, you get a stipend of those? When I work out, only when I work out. My brain gives me happy chemicals, yes. Yep. It says, oh, you did a good job. You get the endorphins. Congratulations. And I get muscles. That's a big deal. I get muscles. I had a friend actually told me today, because, you know, I intended to work out, so I was wearing workout clothes, and then I had stuff to do. Anyways, they were like, yo, like, your arms are looking more defined. I'm like, oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I was very happy to hear that. I was like, do you want me to tell you, like, my fitness program? Because they were like, man, I'm so jealous. And I'm like, do you want me to tell you my fitness program? I can send you the link. And they were like, no, I'm gonna get more mad first before I cave and ask you for it. I'm like, okay, sounds good. You watching the Remembrancer? Yes. Are you gonna, like, report back to him? You gonna report back to him and tell him I watched it? Because somehow he knows I haven't watched any of his videos. Except for that one comic that was in the middle of a whole other stream. I'm impressed. We need an Aurelia flex emote? Ooh, yes. Yes. I'll talk to my emote artist. I don't even know what... might have to see what that would look like. I'm not sure what that would look like. But guys, I'm a leg day skipper. No, today was arms. Thank goodness today is arms. I feel like I'd be kind of dead after doing legs. I did legs yesterday. No, today is arm day, so at least it's not going to be as, like, brutal. See, I didn't even get my pump today by doing arms, and I always... and, you know, sorry, I read a comment and I said the word instead of what I was thinking. Okay. I didn't get my pump today, and I still got a compliment on my shoulders and my arms. I feel pretty good. I feel pretty good. That means we got to keep going. He's watching me? Yeah, he probably is. I see you. Catachan cosplay Aurelia? that will work. That will work. Once you reach 300... oh, 300 pounds of force on... oh. That's the PSI needed to crush a skull? Huh. Gotta work on that. Gotta get my thunder thighs ready to go. I wish we could give you a shirt that says I'm not the stepmom, I'm the mom who stepped up. I'm sure you could find one. Shirt. I'm the mom who stepped up shirt. Yeah. A very quick Google search. And there's plenty of shirts like that. You can find them on Amazon, it looks like. Although, okay, can we consider how weird that would be for me to wear it in public? Can we talk about how bizarre that would be? Like, somebody's like, oh my gosh, like, do you have kids? And I'd be like, no. Oh, the shirt's for my model. I see. I was like, why would I wear this real life shirt? I'm not a stepmom. Am I in charge of the Blood Angels? They still police themselves, per Gilliman's orders, but I am, I assist them. Mm-hmm. Could someone explain how I got the live stream of Sanguinius' wife? Did you come here through my shorts and my TikToks? Because that's probably what happened. Yeah. That's probably what happened. Do you want to see my ring? One sec. Let me slide up a little bit. There you go. Where were you during the devastation of Baal? My headcanon for my lore is that I was en route to assist them, but I did not make it by the time everything ended, which, you know, is kind of like tragic in its own way. So that's where I was. I feel like that's pretty safe. Which of your stepson Blood Angels are your best boy? Dante, obviously. Look, he needs a lot of help. He deserves a bit of a nap. So, yeah. That seems pretty straightforward. Although there are others that are pretty awesome. Mephiston's pretty cool. Gabriel, Seth. We've got a couple. Look, guys, I don't want to tell you this, but any honest parent has a favorite. It's true. They'll never admit it, but if a parent is being honest, they have a favorite child. Look, you don't believe me, but if you have siblings, you know. So, like, for example, I know who my mom's favorite is. It's not me. But, you know what? I feel pretty confident that I am my dad's favorite. You aren't supposed to say the quiet part out loud. Well, I did. I'm an only child and I still wasn't the favorite. This is a lie. I have 4 other siblings. Oh, okay. I was like, dang. You got beat by the dogs and the cat? That's a little sad. That's why mom doesn't get to be on stream? No, that's not true. Just that dad, which, by the way, for those of you who are newer here, my dad is joining us on stream on Saturday. We have a question and answer stream we're going to do. He's a really cool guy. You should come check it out. 9 a.m. Pacific time on Saturday. Anyways, no, it's not because of that. It's just you guys seem to know. You guys know more about Spider Dad, aka my dad, than you do like my mom. I have more stories about my dad. If that makes sense. This is why we don't hear mom stories. No, stop putting words in my mouth. I love them both. Okay? I love them both. My brother is my dad's favorite. I am my mom's favorite. My sister, she's loved too. Good save. And Swarm, thank you for the super chat. What's with Primarchs and pointy-eared women? That is a great question. Honestly, I think it's just because pointy-eared women are attractive. I mean, come on. This new model is gorgeous. She looks great. So... yes, I am biased. Of course I'm biased. I'm the person with the pointy-eared model. And I also paid money for this, so I would like to think I'd want her to look good. They're the superior ear type. I'm, actually, I don't know if I want to say that. It's like that could get dicey. I shouldn't say that. Did you ever play Rogue Trader? So I did start playing Rogue Trader. Please don't do this. But Rogue Trader was the first game that I ever played when I started streaming. It's just not a very good game to stream. Because there's not a lot of narration, like voice acting narration. I would have to read everything, comprehend all the decisions I need to make, read chat. It's a bit much, but I want to play it off stream, but I just haven't had the time for it. So yes, technically I would I would be the matriarch of the Blood Angels and their associated successor chapters. Yes, this is true. But I love all of my sons. They're all wonderful. Do you have other models? I mean, I have my old model, which you can find any of my streams last year. Those are all my old model. My new model just I got it in February. I debuted it in February. I've had it for a little bit now. So, see, Joe, I also agree with you. I do find the Gilliman and Yvraine ship funny because they just respected each other and didn't try killing each other, like, on sight, which is hilarious to me. Because, okay, you guys have to tell me whether or not this is true. This is what I've heard, that if a girl compliments a guy, he'll like hold on to it for the rest of his life and be like, wow, this girl was nice to me, and that compliment will like sustain them for years and years and years. Is this true? Yes, yeah. And oh, by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think it's funny because that's just what it reminds me of, where it's like, oh yeah, they like didn't kill each other, so obviously they're in love. It's like it's really cute. Yes, yeah. All right, chat. Well, let me give you a compliment, okay? Let me give you a compliment. Let me sustain you with a compliment for many years to come. Okay. I do mean this about each and every one of you. This isn't just like a joke. You are all very important people. You may not think it, but you mean the world to someone out there, whether that's your parents, a friend. You are awesome. You are more creative than you know, more intelligent than you think, and you have so much potential to make the world a better place, no matter the circumstance you're in. Okay? I'm sorry, ma'am, I don't hit on married women. Good. My man. Well said. So there you guys go. I hope to be a force for good in this world. So, the only thing I mean the world to is my cat. And look, that's one thing. I guess I did leave chat speechless. I was like, man, not many people responded. It's okay. It's okay, though. It's okay. Yeah. Look, I'm here to help. One of the reasons I like streaming and I've decided to stream is because I want people to realize there's more good in this world than, like, we think. There's a lot of stuff that goes on that's frankly not great. And I hope that I can help people to recognize that there is good and that there are people who care. So, not to be weird or anything, I care. That's all. That's all, man. That's all. Another compliment added to storage. That's 3 now. Oh my goodness. Yay. Oh, hang on. I was reading a comment and my eyes, I was like, what? I don't know how to take compliments like this. Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. You are allowed to blush a little. You can be like, oh wow, that's so thoughtful. I didn't expect that. That's how you take a compliment. I'm not very good at it either sometimes. In person, for sure. In person, I'm like, let me tell you, it's like an amazing feeling For girls, let me put it this way. When a pretty girl tells you that you're pretty, I'm like someone's like, oh, you're so pretty. I'm like, oh, really? I thought you were pretty and you think I'm pretty? It's a great feeling. You go, rat. Yeah, I think it helps to not be overly cynical, but sometimes it can't be helped, and I can't blame people for thinking that way. It's rough out there sometimes, guys. Can't blame you in the slightest, honestly. Oh, and thank you, Raiders. Welcome in. I hope you had a good stream. We are about to watch some videos. I owe people a couple videos I need to watch for stream. So we got a couple of videos that I think should be good. Ooh, is this gonna be good? I'm so excited. I'm so excited. We're gonna watch the Remembrancer video. Warhammer, exciting. Yes, I am a Warhammer fan. I do love me my Warhammers. All 40,000 of them. Oh, come on. Being silly, YouTube. If you could save Sanguinius or the Emperor, who would you save? The Emperor. The Emperor. Although, it could be selfish in the sense that if you save the Emperor, he could find a way to remake Sanguinius. Because it could be possible. Look, I would choose the Emperor because a lot of things would be put right with the Imperium. Look, man, I don't like the question. I don't like having to choose, but I answered the question. He could probably make... Man, but then that begs the question. If he made another Sanguinius, would he be the same Sanguinius? Or would he just be like a fresh, new version with like no memories and... I mean... No, his body was jacked up beyond repair. I think that would be really hard. Man... It could regain his soul. It could, but like, what are the odds it would? Sadness. Oh man, what a good question. Guys, you guys ask difficult questions. A new Sanguinius would be another Alpharites and Omegon situation? Well, I don't think so. Because the first Sanguinius would be dead, so it's not... If... It's weird if he doesn't have his soul and his memories. Then it's like, it's gonna be a completely new entity, just named Sanguinius. Yeah, they would be brothers. His body is on Ball, but like, okay, man. If you read the book, Horus jacked that boy up. He jacked him up, like, spine broken, face flayed, like, wink, like, dude, he got beaten like a dog. It was bad. It was so bad. Yeah, and then afterwards, yeah, he had him strung up. He wasn't alive when that happened. He was already dead, but that was still like... Yeah. Yeah. I think... Look, let's put it this way. Sanguinius would be disappointed in me if I didn't choose his father. If he knew I had the choice... he would be disappointed in me. Yes, we're obviously talking about Sanguinius. Who else got beat so bad? in 40k. There's a couple we could talk about, but Sanguinius is, you know, the main one. So, get my water sip. We should probably get started. Oh man, it's already been like 30 minutes. Time flies when you're having fun. Okay. Do.
This act of heresy shatters.
Hang on. Sorry about that. What's going on here? Oh. I was wondering why that was. I was like, why isn't that working? Alright, so we have a couple videos we're watching today. Oh, actually, we're gonna watch this one first. Because I haven't watched it yet, because I'm a bad streamer. I have not watched the Dawn of War 4 trailer. I keep thinking, oh, I should do this. And then I forget. Because I'm a bad streamer. I'm a bad Warhammer streamer. I should know better. And here we are. I'm gonna watch it now. Alright. Got that. Got my Uwu merch today. The standee's awesome. Yay! I'm so excited to hear that. Oh wait, you posted in the Discord. I meant to respond. I'm glad your standee came in. I saw the post. I was very busy today. So busy I didn't even get my workout in. Okay, we're gonna put the halo down and let's do a little doot. Okay. So is that Vox in the Void? We don't have a Vox in the Void video today, but we can. I currently have 3 videos picked out, but could probably do another one. We'll see. I'm open to suggestions. If you want to put them in the Discord, in the live stream chat channel, I will consider them. Because these are the ones that, like, I was like, I wanted to watch, or, like, you know, I'm obligated to watch. So, yeah. Alrighty. We begin. We're watching Dawn of War 4 trailer. I'm finally going to be a good Warhammer streamer and watch this. Let me check the audio. Okay, that's probably good. POV servo skull.
Xenos entities detected.
Oh, scarabs are really cute.
Maximum vigilance protocol.
Look at him.
Threat is minimal. We proceed.
Oh.
All that is Xenos is beyond the Omnisci's light.
There is knowledge to be harvested here. All knowledge is sacred. All must be known by the machine. This is sacred truth.
Oh no, they're hosed.
I cede to your wisdom.
You're gonna have a bad time. What was that? Oh, it looks so bizarre.
Pariah stone, without a means of ingress, protection, or containment.
You should... Yeah, you should run.
Xenos active!
Commence harvest.
Compliance. Protocols initiated.
Threat level rising!
Yeah, they're hosed.
Harvest complete. We withdraw now.
Negative! Knowledge is sacred! It must endure!
That feels a little weird. I know what they're trying to, like, get at, but, like, just... The line feels a little forced. I'm being picky, though. Smart. That was wise.
We of the machine. All is eternal in the machine.
Okay, okay. I'm not a Mechanicus girly. It was like okay. It was okay. Yeah, it was a little weird, a bit cheesy, and honestly, I think that Tempris should have died a lot faster. If the Necrons were doing their job right, that Tempris wouldn't have lived. Neither of them would have. Yeah, it was a little bizarre. Yeah, they made the Necrons look kind of lame, I won't lie. So, oh, and yes, I have watched Gav and Bob. A very, very good series. I love it. I love it. Okay. So I have two things we're going to watch. We're going to watch the Istvan 3 Atrocity. Now, I'd like you guys to know the background behind this. I've said this on a previous stream. But I will say it now. I was watching a stream that my friend was on, and I saw the Remembrancer, who is friends of hers, in the chat, and he joined her in the in a voice call. And he saw that I was in the chat, and he said, "Oh my gosh, hey, it's Aurelia. She hasn't watched any of my videos before." Not intentional, that's just, it just kind of happened that way. And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm so sorry about that. I should watch one of your videos." He's like, "Yeah, the only video that she's seen that I'm in is a comic video where I voice one guy." And he proceeded to quote the line from the comic, which floored me because I was thinking, how do you know I watched that comic? I've had 2 comic streams where I have watched dozens of comics, and that was like in the middle of one. How in the world do you know? So I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, what video would you like me to watch?" And he said, "Watch the Istvan 3 one." So we're watching Istvan 3 because I told him I'd watch his video. He's watching me always. Apparently, is he a tier 3 sub? I don't know. I just thought it was funny. So we're gonna watch it because I said I would. And yeah. Eyes of the Emperor, I know, right? I was like, how do you know? He has eyes and ears everywhere. So, Istvan 3 Atrocity, I have read, I know about Istvan 3. It's terrible. It's terrible. Yeah, it's an atrocity, obviously. He could be here now. No, I checked. Oh, well, he could be on YouTube. Anyways, we begin.
This act of heresy.
By the way, let me turn this up. I'd like to say he got this art custom made. I don't know. He said he got art custom made. I don't know if it's this specifically, but he told me he did. Okay, let me...
Shatters all.
Let me check the audio.
This act of heresy shatters all ties of kinship.
How was that? Did we like that? It's Istvan 3. Istvan 3 and Istvan 5. Good. I'm gonna start it over one last time. We begin.
This act of heresy shatters all ties of kinship. Those I was proud to call brother, I now fight to bloody death. No quarter will be asked, and none sought. These are the vilest foes we must fight. There shall be no peace, no rest, no succor, until the face of Horus stares down from the traitor's gibbet, and all his heretic followers are vanquished.
Oh, of course. Of course. It's the Death Guard Dreadnought. I think that's in a separate book. I don't think I read that book. But where they choose to accept that fate. Oh. Brutal.
The civil war of the Horus heresy spanned many years of bloody battle. Desecrations to the Imperium's glory, the band of traitors under the thrall of the fallen War Master, Horus Lupercal, slew untold billions in their pursuit for fell power and dominion of the stars. Yet even the flames of heresy require a spark to ignite.
Yes.
And no battle exemplified the omen of things to come, alike to those waged within the Istvan system. For today, we shall elucidate the events as they unfolded, and the battle lines fought between loyalist and traitor sons. This is the tale of the Istvan Free atrocity.
That's supposed to be Horus, right? Or is this... Because the eye... I don't think any of his sons... Because I was like, it's either Loken or Horus, but do any of his sons wear the eye? It just threw me off. Okay, because I was like, it looks like Loken, but the eye is like... This eye specifically, the eye on the side makes sense, but this one is just... Okay, forgive me. It's been a while since I read the books, and I don't exactly pay close attention to the armor details. I was like, huh? Just, this throws me off. Okay, thank you for clarifying. Sorry, it makes me sound like I am like very new to this, but I was like, it's not how I imagined it in my head, so. Cool.
Istvan Free atrocity.
I feel embarrassed, I won't lie. Like, I'm like, well, that's embarrassing. I actually know my
Ignorance
stuff.
and fear create the gods. Enthusiasm and deceit adorn them. And human weakness worships them. It's been the same throughout history. When men destroy their old gods, they find new ones to take their place. What makes you think this is any different?
Good old Ignace.
During the era of the Great Crusade, many worlds had been conquered in order to unite humanity under the fold of a singular empire. The Imperium of Man, the grand vision of the Emperor of Mankind for the destiny of the human race, had through centuries of toil burgeoned across the void. Gathering its long isolated fiefdoms of old into its embrace, the Master of Mankind alongside his martial sons of war, the Primarchs, unleashed the might of the Legiones Astartes to bring to heel any who defied the will of the Monarch of Terror. 18 sons of the Emperor had been crafted, each gifted power beyond measure through both genetic craft and supernatural infusions to mold warriors capable of leading the Angels of Death into battle. Yet among all these demigods of war, one above all had proven to be the most cherished of the Emperor's progeny.
But was
Horus
he the favorite? Horus doesn't think so.
Lupercal, the first Primarch by Imperial records to be returned to the Emperor following their scattering as
By
infants,
Imperial
had spent
records.
decades at the side of his father and would be mentored to one day assume the responsibility of leading his armies. Appointed as the Imperial War Master,
I haven't seen this
and
art.
first among equals of the Primarchs during the Ulanor triumph against the Orc Xenos, the charismatic son of Cophonia instilled loyalty, pride, and vehemence in the hearts of his siblings, vast legions of the Space Marines, and insurmountable populaces of the Imperium's common folk.
I like the Emperor's
None
armor.
would dare besmirch the name of the Emperor's most favored scion, for every campaign waged by Horus had ended with swift compliance. Yet one system within the vast expanse of the Emperor's domain would be remembered by the Imperium as the single most heinous mark of shame in its long history. Istvan, a sector of space within the Segmentum Obscurus of the galactic north of Holy Terror, had been conquered by the Raven Guard Legion's 27th Expeditionary Fleet during 994.M30 of the Great Crusade. Re-educated to adopt the teachings of the Imperial Truth, the Istvanians under the governance of Imperial Baron and former soldier Vardus Pral adopted the Coral City, known by its inhabitants as Kairi Vanak, as their new capital and began to gather tithes and resources. Dismantling the religious institutions of the planet, despite the Imperium's best efforts to root out the corrupting influence of chaos and its masquerading identities, Vardus Pral would become susceptible to the manipulations of the being known as She Who Thirsts.
So, boobs. He's susceptible to boobs. Good to know.
Slanesh. Insurrection ignited among the populace as warp storms enclosed around the Istvan.
Chat's like, same. Me too. Can relate, brother. Well, I can't blame you. I can't blame you in the slightest.
System. Its proximity to the sector of space containing the Eye of Terror, further worsening trade routes and communications. For 6 Terran Standard years of rebellion waged, until a Death Guard Legion patrol ship received a transmission declaring Istvan to be embroiled in civil war. Vardus Pral had reigned as a mutated Psyker, fully surrendered to the powers of the warp, his Coral City a monument to heresy as the blood of zealots and secularists alike spilled through its streets. Unwilling to allow such an affront to the Imperium to go unchecked, the Emperor dispatched his War Master to once more bring compliance to this debauched world. Vowing to make an example of the world, Horus Lupercal brought the might of his legion, the Sons of Horus, to Istvan, ignorant of the schemes and manipulations being weaved by the Pantheon of Chaos. The Primarch's biology was as far beyond that of a normal Astartes warrior as his own was from a mortal man, and Varden knew that he was out of his depth. Only the Emperor himself has the knowledge to delve into the body of a Primarch with confidence, and the enormity of what was occurring was not lost on him. A green light winked into life on the Narfesium machine, and he lifted the data slate from its port in its silver steel surface. Numbers and text scrolled across its glossy surface, and though much of it made no sense to him, he felt his spirits fall as to what he could comprehend sank in. Upon the world of Darwin, the War Master's downfall had begun. The Word-Bearers and their duplicitous Primarch, Lorgar Aurelian, had plotted to corrupt the War Master to aid in their betrayal of the Imperium, following the burning of their perfect city.
You don't usually see a lot of art of her. Wow, that's cool.
Monarchia. Wounded by a chaos-corrupted blade, wielded by the mutated planetary governor of Darwin, Eugen Temba, the fetid infection of the plague god Nurgle had brought the Lupercal low and induced him into a comatose state. His most loyal son of his legion, Ezekiel Abaddon, had allowed himself to be manipulated by the hand of fate, Erebus, and surrendered his Primarch's soul for a chance at his salvation.
We hate Erebus.
Returning to the material realm as a pawn of chaos, the War Master, now commanded to enact reprisal upon Istvan Free, saw an opportunity to enact his plot to usurp the Emperor. Rallying the Emperor's children, World Eaters, and Death Guard legions, those seemingly loyal to the Imperium, and concealing his transformation to his peers, the War Master commanded the Dark Angels, Blood Angels, and Ultramarines to embark upon campaigns far from the war zone to unfold. As flames erupted upon the planet of Prospero between the Space Wolves and Vows and Sons legions due to the War Master's own manipulation, the tragedy unfolding would provide a perfect distraction to enact his betrayal.
Oh.
The mortal populace of
I didn't realize those that happened at the same time. I thought that happened later on. Interesting.
Istvan could not hope to defeat an army comprised of the Emperor's angels, yet the Sons of Horus Legion would not go unscathed during their act of reconquest. Aided initially by the Emperor's Children 1st Company commanded by Lord Commander Eidolon and the Death Guard 7th Company, led by its battle captain, Nathaniel Garrow, the Sons of Horus Legion fought the rebellious population upon the system's outermost planet, Istvan Extremis. The mortal soldiers led by the Slaaneshi Psyker, known as the War Singer, during battle with the demonic entity, Nathaniel Garrow would incur a debilitating wound. His torso crushed and right leg severed during the fray, Lord Commander Eidolon and Garrow's stalwart sword brother, Saul Tarvitz, would manage to defeat the creature.
Incredibly
Given medical
based.
aid by the 3rd Legion's chief apothecary, Fabius Bile, Nathaniel Garrow would live, and with the War Singer's death, the defenders of Istvan Extremis swiftly fell into disarray. Yet the methods used by Eidolon, in their own right, had drawn suspicion from Captain Saul Tarvitz.
Yep.
The shriek from his vocal cords, treated by Fabius Bile's strange surgeries, allowing him to paralyze the beast before delivering the killing blow.
That was a cool fight.
The first campaign to reclaim the Istvan system successful, Horus Lupercal convened with the Primarchs Angron, Mortarion, and Lord Commander Eidolon to organize their assault strategies until Primarch Fulgrim's arrival to the system. Taking the opportunity to whisper poisonous words during the war host, Horus Lupercal ordered the assembled commanders to identify loyalist elements within their legions. Closing on Istvan free and unleashing their combined strength of overwhelming firepower, the Istvanians could not hope to defend against the fury of 4 Space Marine legions, believed to be approximately 200,000 Astartes in scale. The war host of the Lupercal, further bolstered by Primarchs of the legions entering the fray, there was no doubt that compliance would be assured. Further bolstered by elements of the Mortis, Audax, and Vulpa Titan legios, support auxiliary Imperial Army reinforcements would seem almost superfluous to be pitted against a lowly militia of a few billion mortal souls.
A few billion.
Deploying the contingents of their
sense.
legions, known to be stalwardly loyal to the Emperor, these noble Astartes would be the disposable pawns, fit for any and all fatalities to come. Said to approximate a third of each legion's amassed strength, the loyalist Astartes descended upon Istvan free, primarily using drop pod assaults and limited gunship, armored vehicle, or teleporter support. The first wave of Astartes, plunging directly into the city and ignoring an assault of its grand walls, such bloody combat would claim several needless loyalist lives, yet such warriors were already forfeit in the eyes of the Lupercal,
He was like, they're already dead,
preventing
no biggie.
any means for their escape when the War Master's trap had been snared. In the ensuing hours of combat, their valor would be engulfed by the flames of betrayal.
Strike fast! Cut them down! Soak the ground with their blood! Grind them to nothing, as they did their oaths!
The choral city of Istvan free, as both a symbol of the Imperium's dominion of the planet and seat of power for the rebellious planetary governor, Vardus Pral, was the primary objective of the invasion force. The capital of Istvan free would be divided into 3 strategic sectors in order to root out the location of Vardus and his command center. To the northwest lay the city's palace, the most likely seat of power of the governor, which would be besieged by elements of the Emperor's Children and World Eaters. The Siren Hold, a religious institution to the southwest, was characterized by labyrinthine tunnels and hovels fit to hide elements of ambush attacks, which the Sons of Horus would surround in order to meticulously cull any and all resistance. Finally, the extensive trench lines to the east outside of the city's walls would prove difficult for even the most expert Astartes to cleanse, Yet the masters of attritional warfare, the Death Guard, proved to be the obvious choice in laying waste to the entrenched forces. All other elements within the heart of the city would work alongside one another to claim secondary objectives and outposts, though strangely,
It's all
not be
coming
led
back
by
to
any
me.
warriors of the revered First Companies, nor their Primarchs. Many questioned why their ranks seemed to divert from established combat doctrines and seemingly undersupplied and without their most storied champions among their number. Little did they know that the footprints of their ceramite boots marked the soil which would soon become their grave. World Eaters ripped apart the defenders of the city transport networks as the Death Guard continued to push closer to the city walls with the grueling efficiency most characteristic of the Sons of the Pale King. The Sirenhold Psyker Witches fell to the blades of the Sons of Horus as the city's starport and infrastructure prevented any from escaping their blades and bolters. A larger target than the palace, the Sirens' Hold tomb spires were drenched in blood as numerous war singers fell to the blades of the 16th Legion, though at great cost in lives. Captain
I'm really impressed by the diversity of art that is in this video. Like, I'm impressed at how much art there is. Like, maybe something has been repeated once or twice. And I'm not counting like the beginning when there was like a little bit of animation, so there was some pieces that were animated. This is impressive to me.
Garviel Loken pushed his men on, not allowing these psychic mutants to best the valiant sons of the War Master's own legion, with the Sons of Horus destroying their effigy of the Death Tomb Shrine. Whilst the World Eaters tore the palace's defenders to ribbons, the Emperor's Children warriors unleashed their martial skill within the plazas of the palace, with Captain Lucius spearheading the assault of the inner chamber.
That guy, I hate him. I hate him. And he was mad because he's like, the only reason I'm down here is because they think I'm friends with Saul Tarvitz. I hate that guy.
Dueling Vardus Prowl. Clad in strange Baroque armor and wielding peculiar psychosonic weaponry, Vardus Prowl regardless proved no match for the arrogant swordmaster of the 3rd Legion.
Yep.
The rebellion's resistance crumbled, for with no leader, the destruction of their fell shrine, and their many fortifications crumbling at the hands of the 100,000 remaining Astartes, there was no hope of survival. The treacherous Slanesh corrupted rebels had all but been annihilated, yet at the moment of the Astartes' triumph, death descended upon their number.
Yeah.
You see now,
said Horus to the assembled mortals.
To remembrancers.
this is war. This is cruelty and death. This is what we do for you, and yet you turn your face.
The men and women were weeping, holding each other in the wake of this betrayal.
You have come to my ship to chronicle the Great Crusade,
Horus bellowed.
and there is much to be said for what you have achieved, but things change, and times move on. The Great Crusade is over. The ideals it once stood for are dead, and all we have fought for has been a lie, until now. Now I will bring the Crusade back to its rightful path, and rescue the galaxy from its abandonment at the hands of the Emperor.
In orbit of the planet, within the frigate Eisenstein, Battle Captain Nathaniel Garrow watched the battle unfold as he recovered from his augmetic surgery to replace his severed leg. Meanwhile, aboard the Emperor's Children Voidcraft,
Good deal for him.
Andronicus, his valiant sword brother Saul Tarvitz uncovered an ill omen. Both ships were being outfitted with Life Eater virus warheads, yet the battle had seemingly been close to already being won. Only one reason existed to utilize such devastating and often condemned weapons, whilst their men still labored upon the surface. The War Master sought to loose these payloads upon his own men. Escaping the Andronicus aboard a Thunderhawk gunship, Tarvitz would warn Garrow of the impending betrayal. The battle captain's own Huskar, Caleb Aaron, also uncovered such weapons being ready to fire upon the surface, and a brief moment would present itself to turn the tide of the war. Receiving the warning from Saul Tarvitz via Vox transmission, Nathaniel Garrow knew in his heart that the War Master and his own Genesire had betrayed them. Firing upon the pursuing vessel seeking to destroy Saul's Thunderhawk, Garrow and his men loyal to the Emperor began their own mission to return to Holy Terror. Warned of the potential for survivors to escape the Istvan system, the War Master enacted his fleet to fire their fell arsenal. Before the bombs could fall, Saul Tarvitz managed to land upon the soil of Istvan and warned the surviving Astartes to quickly find shelter. Saving many lives due to his heroic actions, despite Tarvitz and Garrow's warning, they would be too late to prevent catastrophe. As Tarvitz and his allies sealed themselves within bunkers designed to survive such fallout,
a lot of people got in, but
the virus
still.
bomb soaked Istvan free with a deadly miasma. Despite being sealed within their ceramite suits capable of enduring the void of space, the Astartes outside the bunkers succumbed to the obscene toxins.
Yeah, it's pretty jacked
Their
up.
skin sloughed from their bones as the chemical fumes consumed their flesh from a molecular level. Screams of angels filled the air of Istvan free, whilst the survivors of the bunkers helplessly listened to their agonized wailing. Within hours, the planet was scoured of life. Untold noble and venerable paragons of the Legiones Astartes had perished, and hope seemed all but lost. Yet as the atrocity of betrayal unfolded, a glimmer of hope remained. Nathaniel Garrow had escaped the Istvan system, and though pursued by the traitors of the Death Guard Legion, allowed for the brief chance that the battle captain would warn the Emperor to combat the impending heresy. Hoping to quell any further resistance that may have survived the Life Eater virus, the guns of the Vengeful Spirit fired one final bombardment upon Istvan as the toxin began to consume itself, bereft of further biomass to sustain itself. Igniting the fumes of poison, flames engulfed Istvan free as the torch of heresy shone brightly. With the first chaplain of the Word Bearers and advisor to the War Master, Erebus, commenting, "Let this fire spread across planets and consume stars. Let all become the pyre from which the new age will be born."
We hate Erebus.
We are the sons of Horus no longer. That name has no meaning to us now. We are the Lunar Wolves, soldiers of the Emperor, and for him we will fight, and if needs be, we will gladly die.
Based, very based looking.
Reeling from such sudden and calamitous perfidy, the loyalists of Istvan waited for the flames engulfing the planet to cease. Their gene fathers had purposely hurled them into the thickest of fighting, and at their moment of glory, smothered them with weapons so vile that even the Emperor was loath to use them, but for the most desperate of campaigns. Allegiance to their Primarch had been torn from them, and now they stood upon a dead world among the corpses of their brethren, not even their countenance remaining under the cracked remnants of their ceramite warplate. This betrayal was unforgivable, for what kind of father would cull his sons with such merciless cruelty and cowardly abandon? No, they were still loyal sons of the Emperor, above all, and not even their gene-sires could sway their allegiance to the master of mankind. Rallying the survivors, Saul Tarvitz, Garviel Loken, and his brother-in-arms Tarek Torgadon resolved to make their last stand within the rubble of the Coral City.
Incredibly based. We're gonna stop here in a second because the ads are about to hit.
Despite murdering billions, the War Master had failed in culling the most stubborn of his sons, who now fought under the banner of their former Legion title, the Lunar Wolves. No matter their prior allegiance, whether
There we go. We'll pause there. Man, it's been a long time. I should reread Horus Rising. Such a good book. Such a good book. What I missed, we are partway through Istvan 3 summary by the Remembrancer. It's pretty good. Did I listen to the audio drama? Is there like a specific one? I usually listen to the audiobooks. Wait, did one of my mods did you guys snooze the ad? Or did it start? Are people in ads? Because now I don't have a notification saying it's going on. No ad for me so far. Did it get snoozed? I was trying not to. Oh, there it is. Okay, it just hit. It was just delayed. That was kind of weird. Because it did a whole countdown for me, and then it was like... Yeah, now it says that there are ads. But I don't want you guys to miss anything. What was I doing while this was happening? I was with Sanguinius. My goal was to not let him fall to chaos. And I succeeded. So... Yeah, unfortunately for YouTube, YouTube doesn't tell me when it gives you guys ads. I have no idea. I have no idea when YouTube does ads. Twitch is like very obvious. They'll be like, okay, your ads are coming in this long. It's just Twitch. I highly recommend you check out audio dramas. They're like filler between the books, expand on characters and story. Okay. Is there a specific channel you recommend? I'm kind of curious. Oh. He can't hear me. He can't hear me. He's got an ad. Yeah, I was in the Cygnus cluster. Specific lore I haven't written out, but I imagine I was there, assisting, in a way. In a way. What? Oh no. What was Aurelia doing in all of this? Sanguinius, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. That took me a second. No, P. Kelton, I knew what you were talking about. Oh, you're specifically asking what was I doing the moment it started. Probably training or something like that. I don't have anything specific. The break ends in 30 seconds. Yes, I distracted him with my female wiles. Ooh. Okay, let us know when the ads are back. Well, not the ads. Let us know when you're back from ads. You guys back from ads? Let us know in chat if you're back. You're back? Okay, you're back. Let's continue.
Hounds of War, Raiders of the Dusk,
Actually, hang on, we're gonna go.
Of their former legion title, the Lunar Wolves. No matter their prior allegiance, whether Hounds of War, Raiders of the Dusk, or Talons of the Phoenix, each man still standing in the name of the Emperor would not surrender to death so long as a chance to bloody the War Master remained.
Yeah.
Elements within the fleet,
We
such as the
hurt
Torpedo
him.
Monitor,
We hurt
Ukroy,
them.
Sunstone, and servants of the Omnissiah of the Order Reductor, Galea Xerxes 977, fired upon traitor war vessels and claimed several escort craft before each were destroyed. Enraged at the reports of as many as 70,000 loyalist Astartes remaining stationed on the planet
it's a
and
lot.
fortifying the Coral City, the War Master's treachery had been faultless in planning, yet wanting in effectiveness. Angron, Primarch of the World Eaters, could not allow such a slight to continue,
Nope.
and without consent of the Lupercal, descended upon Istvan Free to slaughter the survivors
So
personally.
we couldn't drop more bombs.
Enacting the second drop pod assault of the planet, 50 companies of the World Eaters descended upon the Coral City's western
50.
precinct, hunting the remaining loyalists of his legion. The Red Angel's rampage would be remembered by historians of the Imperium as a truly vicious saga.
Yep.
And the sky burned, and the stars fell from the inferno, and with them came the angels, and they were armored and arrayed for slaughter, and their rage howled across the ashes of the realm they had destroyed. And with them was one greater than all the rest, they his dead children, and he was their maker. And those that remained amongst the ashes looked to the sky, and knew that death was come upon them. Tearing through his sons wielding his vicious chain axes, Gorefather and Gorechild, the roars of the Lord of Red Sands sent chills down the spines of his adversaries before they were ripped from their bodies.
Yeah. Pretty
Brother
bad.
Captain Erlen commanded his contingent of 2,000 12th Legion loyalists and faced his Genesire in combat.
Not for
Overcome
long.
with feral madness and bloodlust, the Loyalist World Eaters willingly charged into the blades and teeth of their former kin, seeking to inflict as many casualties as possible before perishing. There were no tactics, no stratagems, only hate and fury as the butcher's nails bit into both assembled ranks of the World Eaters' lines. Hundreds died in an instant, and blood and viscera coated axes, swords, gauntlets and teeth as limbs were pulled from their sockets and brain matter smeared the warplate of the butchers of Nuceria. Every death preceded by a curse of derision. The savage stalemate unleashed by the World Eaters would forebode future battles between Astartes, which would be characterized by primal rage and unsophisticated brutality. 7,000 Astartes
Not
died
surprising.
during the fray, yet by sheer attrition, the traitors' ranks could not be overcome. For none could hope to match the killing frenzy of the Red Angel, with Angron remarking
spittle
on
is
the
kinda
conclusion
gross
of
on
his
this.
massacre, "It is well done." Ordering his men to surround the Coral City's palace, their hunt for survivors continued.
There is no failing I cannot turn to a component in my victories. Angron has decided to turn Istvan Free into a ground assault. I can consider this a failure and limit its impact by bombarding Angron and his World Eaters into dust along with the rest of the planet.
Yeah.
Or
Smart.
I can forge a triumph from it that will send echoes far into the future.
It's much better to not bomb your brother who's a menace in melee.
Incensed at Angron's blatant and foolhardy disregard for his command, the War Master orchestrated a means to cull the remaining loyalists quickly. Unable to conduct another orbital bombardment due to Angron's planetfall, Horus would not invite dissent among his rebellion for causing harm to the Primarch of the 12th. Using the opportunity to exemplify his strategic brilliance in commanding men outside the ranks of his own legion, the War Master knew the strengths and weaknesses of each of his allies, and in turn utilized them to deadly effect. Ordering Lord Commander Eidolon to deploy his men close to the Precentaur's palace, they would be given an opportunity to redeem themselves for allowing Captain Saul Tarvitz's escape to the surface. Conducting reconnaissance sweeps of the palace, the Sons of Horus and Death Guard gunships monitored the Coral City for weak points and deployed seeker squads to pick off any isolated bands of survivors. Finding that the defenses commanded by Saul Tarvitz were exceptionally well organized, Eidolon's men failed in breaching the walls of the palace, nor achieving any objectives. Forced to retreat, the Lord Commander's folly had regardless tested the capabilities of the Loyalist defenders for Horus to observe. Allowing for a Sons of Horus Storm Eagle to return to the strike cruiser, Minotaur, the War Master would be further slighted to find its pilot to be Loyalist declaring, "Avenge the blood of terror," before firing upon a full company of Astartes. Attrition was taking root, and the War Master could not allow for his campaign to stall, for with time, Nathaniel Garrow would reach Holy Terror, and the Emperor's reprisal would arrive in system. Though commanding 4
Very
legions,
true.
their numbers had been diminished and could not hope to usurp the throne world in a protracted campaign. The world's sudden death knell was causing dangerous weather conditions, preventing further air support or Titans. Despite every effort by the War Master, the Loyalists had clung onto life. The Emperor's children's overconfidence, combined with the brashness of the World Eaters, had dispersed their forces. Utilizing catacomb networks and hidden pathways, the Loyalists were slowly blooding their opposition with hit-and-run guerrilla tactics in order to stall their invasion plans for Holy Terror.
But guess who had
Captain
to ruin
Loken's
it?
defense was holding, and legendary figures of the legions of yore, such as Rylanor the Unyielding, were fending off vast waves of traitor forces, seemingly with some unknown divine protection or unbelievable fortitude. Plundering munitions from the fallen, the Loyalists fought for weeks on end, seemingly with no means to eliminate their brilliant commanders. Yet the War Master could not allow this to continue any longer. Braving the storm, Primarch Mortarion fought through the perilous storms beyond the city walls, his resilience put to the test alongside his men as they purged the trench lines. North of the Imperial starport, Mechanicum survivors under the command of Caleb Decima of the Galea Xerxes 977 aided the defense efforts driven by pure logic and unfaltering steel. 2 months of combat ensued, until the storm subsided, and with the skies cleared, the War Master delivered the final hammer blow.
Though it takes the last drop of my blood, I will see the galaxy freed once more. And if I cannot save it from your failure, Father, then let the galaxy burn.
The death toll of the Loyalists stood at 70,000 Astartes, for despite their incredible defiance, they could not stem the tide forever. Wearied
Unfortunate.
from bombardments, virus bombs, insurmountable odds, and the wrath of even the Primarchs, it is nothing short of a miracle they had survived this long. Said to have slain 2 men for every one of their losses, the Loyalists never faltered in their mission to protract their extermination, to allow the Emperor time for retribution. However, the slow advance of the Death Guard had finally pushed past the walls of the Coral City, and with the Pale King at their vanguard, the end for the Loyalists had begun. As Mortarion attacked from the northwest, some within his ranks refused to fire upon their Loyalist kin, and instead attacked the ranks of the 12th and 14th traitors. Known by the Death Guard as the Veil of Grief, these Terran dissenters would strain the Legion's organized lines until their pacification. Marshal Durak Rask would be slain by the Loyalist Death Guard, Chrysos Morturg, whilst a Predator tank of the Legion had the temerity to wound their own Primarch with a blast of plasma fire.
Awesome.
Ordering his men to retreat from the battle.
You need some chapstick. I'm getting kind of thirsty and my lips feel dry just looking at them, dude. You need a moisturizer and some chapstick.
Mortarion's actions had inflicted several wounds upon the defenses, yet he would not die upon the barren land of this accursed world, and he would regroup for a second assault. Forcing the Loyalists to fall back to the Precentaur's palace, Mortarion's slow march delved deeper into the tunnels below to root out his Loyalist sons. Resolving to deploy his most trusted and accomplished warriors, the Justarin, to end the conflict, Horus commanded Ezekiel Abaddon to lead a surgical strike within the beleaguered palace.
They got the boys.
At the head of 30 companies of the Sons of Horus, Abaddon attacked the southwest of the palace and began his siege of the defenses. Supported by the Legio Mortis and Audax, the traitors made short work of the remaining defenders beyond the boundaries of the palace. As the Dark Mechanicus war machines ground into the walls of the palace, the witch priests of Darwin conjured their tainted powers to sunder its walls. Preparing themselves for their inevitable demise, the Loyalists fought one last time in the name of the Emperor. Unable to blunt the overwhelming force of traitors besieging the palace, The stronghold crumbled as heroic veterans of the campaign fell to the guns of heretics. City blocks in their entirety crumbled as armored vehicles tore through the capital, and at the moment of their greatest hour of need, a snake within their ranks struck from within. Captain Lucius of the Emperor's Children, though condemned to die, had made a deal with Lord Commander Eidolon and turned on his allies.
That art is like perfect. That sneer is absolutely perfect. I've not seen this art. Mwah, 10 out of 10. Very well done. Except I have one thing. His nose is not, well, we don't know when this art is of him, but his nose should be a little broken because he got in a duel with Loken and he was like, I'm gonna beat him with my sword, and then Loken just punched him in the face. Hilarious. It is so funny. So funny. So his nose should be broken in theory, but you know, who knows when well, technically the Loken the fight with Loken was pre-heresy. So
killing 30 space marines as the traitors assaulted the inner walls of the palace. Resentful of Captain Tarvitz's brilliant leadership and virtues, Lucius attempted to slay him in a duel, following his assassination of Captain Solomon Demeter of the Second
I was gonna say Solomon. Oh, I liked him.
Company. Failing to match Saul's martial prowess in battle, Lucius retreated from the fray, having fulfilled his bargain. Flashes of explosions bloomed in the city's north. Shooting stars punched through the dark clouds overhead, scorching holes through which the glittering stars could be seen. The stars shone down on the coral city in time to watch the city die. "Did we hurt them, Captain?" asked Solafin. Did this mean anything? Tarvitz thought for a moment before replying. "Yes," he said. "We hurt them here. They'll remember this." Traitors swarmed into the Precentaur's palace, driving the remaining loyalists underground into narrow tunnels as the men overground scattered. None could hope to match 4 legions in a concerted force, supported by so many armaments and fell powers from their allies of the Dark Mechanicus, Titan Legios, and Davenite priests. To the north and south, the Sons of Horus overwhelmed what little outposts of resistance remained, their volleys of bolter rounds driving Astartes from cover as the noose tightened. Abaddon would not relent, his order by his Primarch to end the resistance or never return to the War Master's sight. Within an hour, the Siren Hold had fallen, and now only scant survivors required execution at the hands of the traitor advance. Assault squads fitted with jump packs swarmed the sniper nests of the Loyalists, whilst Terminator armor-clad veterans bore the brunt of any small arms fire remaining. Spartan Land Raider tanks turned the fortifications of the palace into rubble, burying and trapping the Loyalists under fallen masonry to allow for easy kills, while they tried in vain to crawl from the debris. Despoiler squads ran headlong into the breach, carving the battered defenders apart with chain blades with no regard for their lives. Any who ran were burned alive with phosphex canisters as they retreated into the catacombs. The Lunar Wolves were being exterminated, but their stalwart captains, Garviel Loken and Tarek Torgadon, still stood their ground. Abaddon and his lieutenant, Aximand, faced them in battle as brother fought brother within the ruins of the Coral City. Aximand, known by his peers as Little Horus, slew Torgadon in battle, whilst Garviel Loken desperately fought against his more heavily armoured and armed former first captain, Abaddon. Critically wounded, Loken would be left for dead within the rubble of the palace, his position shelled with further bombardments with the departure of the Sons of Horus assault. The battle was over. Those who survived such cataclysmic firepower were systematically hunted as the traitors swept the carcass of the destroyed city.
Yeah.
The manhunt.
I love what happened to Aximand. Mwah! Loved that. It was great. I read that book and I was like, oh, get wrecked.
Hunt for the Loyalists saw to the extinction of all fealty within the ranks of the Sons of Horus, Emperor's Children, World Eaters, and Death Guard. Yet their defiance had cost the War Master more dearly than he had anticipated. His gambit to quell the Emperor's devotees in a single masterstroke, foiled by a select few martyrs. Fulgrim, Primarch of the Emperor's Children, arrived within system and witnessed the consequences of such devastation. His own legion had suffered more losses than he was promised, and his own task of convincing his beloved brother, Ferrus Manus, and his Legion of the Iron Hands to the traitor fold
did not go well.
had been in vain. The Emperor knew of the rebellion thanks to the efforts of Nathaniel Garrow, the remembrances Euphrates Keeler, Kirill Sinderman, Mercedes Olaton, and the 70 Death Guard loyalist Astartes who had escaped the Purge. Retribution was at hand, and more allies would be required to fend off the impending assault of the Loyalist legions. This cemetery world was of no further consequence. Now the traitors must fortify a new world in order to stave off the advancing Angels of Death.
Where are they gonna go?
Istvan III was dead, but the system of space would not be spared another ignominious battle within its borders. For the world of Istvan V would suffice as the bastion of the traitor rebellion, but would prove to earn its own legacy of bloodshed, which exceeded even the atrocity of its sister world. Who betrayed us? He asked himself, echoing the aged dreadnaught's question. Why, in Terra's name? Why?
Ulis!
Barked the old warriors, stomping to his side.
Get in there! We only have a few seconds!
No, he retorted.
My men first! Idiot!
Growled Huron-Fal, throwing protocol to the wind.
I will stay. Nothing will be able to crack my hide. You go, now!
He shoved Temeter with his colossal manipulator claw.
Go inside, damn you!
Ulis Temeter stumbled back a step, but his gaze was still on the sky. No, he said, just as flickers of brilliant light turned the day to a glittering white. At high altitudes overhead, the first wave of the virus warheads detonated in series, a wall of airbursts instantly unleashing a black rain of destruction. The viral clades, capable of hyper-fast mutational charge and near-exponential growth rates, feasted on native airborne bacteria. The thin dark bloom of the death cloud rolled out over the coral city just as the second wave fell. The shells did not explode until they hit the ground, bursting to smother city districts, open fields and trench lines with tides of destructive haze. The Life Eater did as it had been engineered to do. Where a molecule of it touched an organic form, it spread instant, putrefying death.
Absolutely brutal.
The coral city, every living thing, every human, animal, plant, every organism down to the level of microbes was torn apart by the virus. It leapt boundaries of species in a second, burning out the life of the planet. Flesh rotted, and blood became ooze. Bones shredded and turned brittle. Istvanians and Astartes alike died screaming, united in death by the unstoppable germs. Temeter saw the warriors running towards him, dying on their feet. Figures fell to the mud as their corpses turned to a red broth of fleshy slurry, viscous fluid seeping from the chinks in their power armor. He knew that he had dallied too long, and he shouted with all his might,
Close the hatch! Close it!
The men in the bunker did as he told them, even as he tasted blood in his mouth and felt his skin prickling with budding lesions.
Ooh.
The metal door slammed shut and hissed with a pressure seal, locking him out. Temeter hoped they had been quick enough. With luck, they would not have taken any of the virus inside with them. He managed 2 stumbling steps before he fell, the muscles in his legs singing with agony. Huron-Fal caught him.
I told you to run, you fool!
The captain flung off his helmet with a final, agonizing gesture of defiance. It was useless now, the virus having moved effortlessly through the breather grill and into his lungs. His hand flailed at the metal flank of the dreadnought and traced a runnel of dark fluid. Even through the pain, Temp understood. There was a small fracture in the old warrior's ceramite casing, not enough to have slowed him on the battlefield, but more than the virus needed to reach inside the dreadnought's hull and savage the remains of flesh inside.
You lied. Veteran's prerogative, came the reply. We'll go together then, shall we?
Huronfal asked,
We deny you.
embracing Tempeter's body to him, moving swiftly away from the bunker. It took every last effort from Tempeter to nod. Blinded now, he could feel the tissues in his eyes burning and shriveling in his head, the soft meat of his lips and tongue dissolving. Huronfal's systems were on the verge of shutdown as he stumbled to a safe distance, skidding to a halt.
This death,
He rasped.
this death is ours. We choose it. We deny you your victory.
With a single burning nerve impulse, the mind of the warrior at the heart of the dreadnought uncoupled the governor controls on his compact fusion generator and let it overload. For a moment, there was a tiny star on the battered plains outside the coral city, marking 2 more lives lost within a maelstrom of murder.
Based. Incredibly based. I have not read The Flight of the Eisenstein.
This has been a tale of the great Imperium of Man, read by the Remembrancer. The Sacrifices of Heroes epitomizes the last stand of the loyalists of Istvan Free. Whether line soldiers, officers, or labor serfs, the choice to stand defiant against the wicked is not a virtue beyond grasp. For so long as you stand defiant against the encroaching darkness, you shall stand in the midst of heroes, no matter your station nor seniority. Alike to the ancient Terran idiom, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. And it is the mark of a great man to never surrender to the enticements of corruption.
Out of 10. 10 out of 10. There you guys go. Here, have that. Here, have that. Good video. Wonderful video. Amazing video. I'm gonna message him right now. Message him right now. One sec. There you go. He has a message. That was beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, I should read The Flight of the Eisenstein. I haven't read that one, so I can do that. All right. I'm going to run to the restroom really fast. But the next video that we are going to watch is by Lorebeards. So I talked to Lore Master of Sotek, and I ended up, I watched this video on my own time, and I really enjoyed it, and I really like what they did here. So we're gonna watch this video together. Yeah, Remembrancer does awesome work. Awesome work. So, okay, I will be right back. We're going to watch this. We're going to learn about dragon ogres. So, we're doing Warhammer 40k and some Warhammer Old World. And then if you have recommendations for other videos, go put them in the Discord server in the live stream channel. And depending on how much time we have tonight, I will check them out. Okay? All right, I will be right back. Give me just a moment. Thank you guys for waiting. Thank you for waiting. I'm gonna put my hoodie on. It's a little chilly in here. Time to poke my nose again. Hey, at least you say I have a nose. Someone thought I was Tao because my nose is missing, but no. I have a nose, as you can see. Okay. I've got my Aurelia hoodie on. It's very comfy. I keep it in my by my computer, so when I'm editing videos and I get chilly, I can just throw it on. Never leaves the house. You're a Tao because of the red hair. Heretic mods, get him out of chat. Get him out of chat. Does that mean the Irish are Tao secretly? I'm not an Eldar, I'm an abhuman. I'm an abhuman. Okay, so I like this video a lot. We're gonna watch this. We're gonna learn about dragon ogres. Are they dragons? Are they ogres? Are they ogres the size of dragons? Or are they dragons that look like ogres? We're gonna find out. So, let me check the audio.
This week it is...
Dragon ogre.
Yeah, shocking.
How was that? Good? Bad? Lower? Higher? What are we thinking? Yeah, we're doing some fantasy. So am I from the old world? No, I actually have a lore video. You should check it out. That'll tell you all you need to know about me. Because I'm an abhuman, I promise. Cross my heart. Hope to die. Anyways.
Dragon ogres.
Alright. It was good, fine. Okay, I might just turn it down a tiny bit. Looked like it got a little high. Alright. Dragon ogres. Let's learn about them.
This week it is...
Dragon ogre.
Yeah, shockingly dragon ogres. Joking, but yeah.
I don't like this. Oh wait, hang on. Let me, one sec. There you guys go. There is the dragon ogre. I don't like it. I can't say I am a fan. Currently, no, I do not have a corruption variant of my model, but that is because custodians cannot be corrupted. So, no, I don't think I would ever get one. I'm not corruptible. Not yet. I'm concerned.
It's an electrifying subject. I would like to take you all the way back to 1980. I'm going to guess 8. Well before many of you were born. Oh god damn it, I'm old. A white dwarf arrived. It's the one with the casket of...
I want to like read some of the White Dwarf articles. Does anyone in chat actually know where like I could like find that, like those stories and those tales? Are they like posted anywhere? Because I've heard there's a lot of like good content, like early content that was in the White Dwarf, but I just don't know where they are. Warhammer Plus. So I have to subscribe to like read them? Is that true? Oh, they're on Warhammer Plus. Bleh. Lame. I just want to read for fun. I already buy the books. Well, pseudo own them via Audible. This stream is not sponsored, by the way. How else is GW supposed to make money? Miniatures. They make buckets and buckets of money off their miniatures. If I subscribe for a year, I get a model. Oh, a VTuber model? No, it's just a mini, I'm sure. That's true. I have considered getting Warhammer Plus and just binging all the series. But because I stream, I don't really have the time to, like, binge the series. Okay. Real talk. I do think Warhammer Plus is a touch overrated. Not really a hot take. I don't like it. It's not worth the subscription, in my opinion. But, you know, I know why they do it. Money. Join the club? Yeah, I mean, the easy access to that club. Anyways, sorry. That's a shame. I guess I can get a subscription and then binge everything, but I really don't have time when I stream now, so yeah. Look, why don't I just watch this video? Because look, he's like, oh, it's in this issue. And I'm like, oh, great, he's just gonna tell me the lore. But who knows? Who knows?
Souls on the cover. And in the back of this particular White Dwarf, in the heavy metal section, was the first ever Dragon Ogre. Painted in browns and reds, leathery skin.
Ew. Ew, he leaves much to be desired, in my opinion. Ooh.
Dragon bottom half, ogre top half. Now, I remember back then looking at this going, fuck yeah, I want one of these. And I'll admit, it wasn't because the model was so cool, which it was. I just looked at his stats.
We are two different people, because I look at this model and I'm like, it's a model. Dragon Ogre, it looks like my ex-girlfriend. Yikes. Oh, what did she do to you, man? I can think of a couple people I don't like, but I'd never call him a Dragon Ogre. Man, who hurt you? Doesn't give you pug energy? No. Safe to say, no. I know it's from the 80s, but I can still think it's ugly. What a line to join stream to. Look, I was reading chat. That wasn't me. Never dated a girl in my life. Not into that. All VTubers are actually Dragon Ogres behind the screen? No comment. Well, Oreozilla, I'm really glad you're out of that relationship. I'm happy for you. I'm happy for you. I'm glad you're out of that. Sorry, guys. I keep getting derailed.
That's and went, oh, yeah. I want one of those for me. It's fair to say that Dragon Ogres, somewhat appropriately, have never really changed. The Dragon Ogres would be this hoary old remnant. This almost unchanging thing. They had their own names for themselves, and these names were laid out in the old Warhammer fashion, in that the basic one was a Dragon Ogre, a level 5 hero was called, as I recall, a Sharkath, and a Sharkath became, in later editions, the core name for the Dragon Ogres for themselves. A level 10 hero was called a Garthor, a level 15 was called a Darkoth. Yes, I'm bringing out my memory here. I can't remember level 20. No, Sharonok. Sharonok is level 20, and the level 25 was the ancient ones, the Shaggoth. And these names will pop up again a couple of times in various sources. A few pieces of artwork, they were done by Adrian Smith.
See, I like the way this looks better than the mini. It's still a hideous combination, but I would say that's probably intended.
One of which was just a Dragon Ogre full page looking fucking epic. Our Dragon Ogres were immediately pitched as an effectively immortal species that can only die in war. And the reason for this was because they'd made a pact with the Chaos Gods.
Wow.
So before the Chaos Gods themselves rise up, they make a pact. And one particular dragon ogre is responsible for that pact.
That's kind of a
the
good
Black
deal.
makes the deal. He is marked out and named as a Shaggle, the oldest, most hoary dragon ogres that existed before the old ones arrived. And they largely were at war at this point with the rulers of the world, the dragons. And it was a war they were losing. And because they were losing, they made a pact with the dark gods. They didn't just make a deal for their souls.
See, I think these are supposed to be the dragon ogres, but they don't look nearly as bad. They look kind of cool with their hoof. I like the hooves. I think that's superior.
They made a bargain, and the bargain was, we will end the world for you. We will bring it to an end, and when we do, our souls come back. As long as you stop us losing this particular war.
Wow.
So the dragon ogres themselves at this point have sold their souls. They will fight for chaos, and they do. The biggest one goes to sleep. Indeed, they often go to sleep. The older they get, the more they sleep.
That sounds like me. Sounds like me. I often go to sleep as well.
Goes to sleep. Indeed, they often go to sleep. The older they get, the more they sleep. And the older they get, the bigger they get. And that's a really important fact, because the old Shaggoths are actually huge. The original dragon ogre is said to be the size of a mountain, and indeed that's
cool
largely
art.
Confirmed when you take a look at what happened with Archaon when he pretty much met him.
Okay, I think I know what my concern was. I'm sorry, I'm really judging a book by its cover here. I like this more muscly build. It looked really scrawny before in the dragon part of the dragon ogre. But this is, he got chonk. He got muscle. It looks, goodness, chat. That looks like my sister. Holy moly. Dang, chat is a bit sassy today. Oh my goodness.
Accidentally mistaking him for a mountain. He will not wake up until the end times, when the end of the world is coming. So good old Ragnarok, he goes to sleep. It was 10,000 years back. So the deal took place 3,000 years before the actual cataclysm. Long before the cataclysm that the Chaos Gods made this deal.
That's
and
a
that
long
gives you an
time.
idea of what the world was like back then. So already the Chaos Gods are stirring deals that are in a potential.
Tyrannus, thank you so much for the information. I will have to take a look. Thank you for letting me know this important information.
The world was like back then. So already the Chaos Gods are stirring deals that are in a potential being made, and the war with the dragons that the dragon ogres are having, their kin, is ongoing at this point. But we also know that the old ones will arrive, and that the old ones will also be doing their attempts to purge the planet when they moved the world from its icy position, pulled it in closer, and as it did, the dragon ogres got more tired, because during the warm months, they get slumberous. When the summer days go long and the sun burns mercilessly down from dawn to dusk, the dragon ogres withdraw to their caves under the mountain. Icy, cold creatures. They prefer the cold, they prefer winter. The older ones will sleep for scores, hundreds, or even thousands of years. The movement of the world closer to the sun could be the event that made the dragon ogres go, we can't cope anymore. We're dying. To begin with, they were throughout every mountain chain and system, not just in the old world, but throughout the world. They eventually all move up towards the Chaos Waste, into the mountains up there, coming out only when thunder and lightning come. Storm clouds gather in and lightning strike, that the dragon ogres would be drawn out.
The thing is, the dark gods literally send lightning to them to wake them up. I don't think you would ever see them without a tempest.
That is a terrible alarm clock. Have you ever been woken up at night by like a thunderstorm? It's not fun. Your heart's racing, your heart's pounding. I would not recommend. I'd be pretty pissed too if I got woken up by a thunderstorm. I can't blame them.
very first descriptions of the great storms coming in the depths of winter and the dragon ogres awakening, and depending upon just how dark that storm was, just how violent, depends on how old the dragon ogres that awoke would be. And if it's a truly massive storm, many of them would awaken, and they would fight each other, because they would fight each other to be the ones that represented the chaos gods. Now, I'm not saying that they were dying, but they were definitely warring with each other, and they'd go up, and the one that did best is the one that would be struck directly by the chaos gods as a reward for having successfully rised to the very peaks themselves, and then they would become a champion of the gods, because the chaos gods are following their actions and they are purposely trying to get the best of them to do something on their behalf.
Do they get
can be
perks?
called upon, and if you call upon them too often, they'll say no.
The dark gods are the only
That's amazing. They're the only race that can say no to the chaos gods. The chaos gods like, hey, can you go get me a latte? And they're like, no. Screw you.
reliable force that can wake them up. And they are not hesitant, but they are cautious about calling on them. They don't want to wake them up too much, in the fear that they might just say no, because they're so strong and powerful that the Dark Gods like really want them to participate. They don't just want to smite them. That's a waste of a way too valuable resource, and they might not even be able to smite them.
You've got the further issue as well, that if you have a limited number of them, if, for example, they are sterile, as various sources have suggest, and there are no more coming, if that is the case, then they are a finite resource. And if your plan, even if it's twisted and fucked up and you're a dark god and who knows how they think, they are very much inscrutable. But if your plan is loosely bring down the world, you're only going to use them at the point.
So the dragon ogres are energized if they're hit by lightning. So it's like their 5-hour energy. It's like taking a shot of espresso. I'm being a bit facetious, but that's what it makes me think of.
Inscrutable. But if your plan is loosely bring down the world, you're only going to use them at the point when you actually think you can.
Yeah, I personally love the sterile storyline. There is a quote in the 2nd edition bestiary by one of the dragon ogres where the dragon ogre posits that Tzeentch seems to blame Tzeentch in particular for the sterilization, and posits the idea that Tzeentch found the idea quite literally amusing, that they traded one form of immortality for another. They traded racial immortality, being that you have further generations of your kind, for individual immortality, where we cannot die. And for some of the dragon ogres, being like, I think Kolek and Kraken Rock, this is an awesome deal. I think they are the kind where they do not care about progeny, they care about themselves. For others of the dragon ogres, this genuinely comes off as a very existential crisis and a very sad one.
Oh, that's
Many of the dragon ogres are
like the
genuinely pushing for the destruction of the world. They're not pushing for like any particular victory. They want the world to end. It's implied that many of them don't even think they're going to survive it. They're just tired and they don't want to be doing this anymore.
Cool. I think it's a really cool aspect
too,
to them, that
man.
they're looking to end the world because that ends their deal with the gods. And that's why they're so damn desperate to finally end it all, because either A, they can now die in natural term, or perhaps they can now have their own progeny, perhaps they can continue. Who knows exactly what it is? And I think not having answers to that and having it being somewhat of a mystery, having this very species itself be very difficult to plumb into the details for, is one of the things that makes them so attractive. It's one of the things that makes them so freaking cool.
You have to remember that the dark gods are crazy. A trap that sometimes I find people fall in.
I'm sorry, how do you forget the dark gods are crazy? Is it just me? I feel like I don't forget that they're crazy.
When they ask questions about chaos, is they try and rationalize why chaos does what chaos does. Chaos don't play that way. The dark gods,
they just do.
They are not mortals. They have no concept of mortality, and they often will do things that screw themselves.
The chaos gods are their own worst enemies, particularly Tzeentch, an entity that may not even be, as we understand it, a god. It could just be a fragmented lattice work of 1,000 broken billion minds all acting and interacting in different ways.
And you could argue, oh, it's part of a greater plan, but I really think that gives them too much credit.
That they went to the chaos gods and said, look, in your weakness we will help you. And that deal was the dragon ogres were losing a battle and they were about to be extinctified. They knew they were reaching an end, and their most powerful member, their most massive of dragon ogres, made a deal on behalf of his entire species.
So in Warhammer, there's kind of an ideology of like progenitors of races tend to have authority over their offspring and can make deals that pass down. First of a lineage can make a bargain that affects everything that comes after them. Making a bargain with the dark gods,
Oh, that's rough.
and
I'd hate
functionally selling yourself to them often means that you lose value, because once you've made that deal, they get you to sign the contract. They're like, all right, you're not fun.
Sorry. I once saw a Redditor unironically call the Chaos Gods loving. What? I mean, I could see how they would appreciate some of their other followers or members, and you could argue that grandfather Nurgle loves you, but like, what? No, they don't care about you. They don't care about you. Corn loves blood. You're right. Corn is loving. He is loving the spilling of blood. You're correct. You're correct. Yeah, that's a cursed take. I don't agree with that. Sorry, I keep pausing, but you guys say some interesting things. I'm like, oh, I have to comment on that. Corn technically falls under hate and rage. So, I really wonder if that person is okay. I hope so too. I hope so, for sure. You cannot fix Slaanesh. Okay, we're gonna get back to it. You can't fix Slaanesh. Don't try it
Anymore. Once you've made that deal, they get you to sign the contract. They're like, all right, you're not fun anymore. We've got you. That's the case for the Famir. The Famir made a bargain with the Dark God, and that bargain did not work out for them. The Dark Gods got bored with them and were basically like, I don't want to play with you anymore. Insert Toy Story meme. What's interesting about the Dragon Ogres is that they made this bargain, yet they are not thrown away. I think it actually could be fairly well argued that as far as mortals go, like non-demons, the Dragon Ogres are probably the most highly valued pieces the Dark Gods have.
Yes,
Dang.
I would argue that they are not Chaos troops. What I would argue is that they are people who have been bound to a deal, and if they fail, they then are fallen. They are more allies of Chaos. They have made a choice, and their choice was, we will fight for Chaos in...
Hey, Crimson Lord. So actually, my lore is just, it's a little different. I'm not a traditional Custodes. The concept was developed before the retcon change. And don't worry, I'm not canon. This is just an original character. So... yeah, and we're watching this because we're getting some good information about the Dragon Ogres. My friend Loremaster of Sotek and his friend Andy, they do a lot of really good research. So I highly recommend checking them out. They're super cool. And, check out my video if you want to figure out what my origins are, because they're a little different than what you would normally expect. Anyways... sorry about that, guys. We will back it up a sec and we'll get into it.
return. They have made a choice, and their choice was, we will fight for Chaos in return for... we don't know exactly what the deal was. We just have they made a pact so that they could survive. But the nature of Dragon Ogres is that they're probably already effectively immortal anyway. So the pact was probably to help them survive through the end of whatever particular war that they were dealing with. And in return, the Chaos Gods asked for the world to be destroyed, which means that the Dragon Ogres almost certainly believe that they will survive that. Their immortality...
that's quite a concept to me.
Also got the fact that we're possibly sterile, although that lore drifts up and down in different places. There's also the possibility they have no real gender, in that there's never really been a female Dragon Ogre really mentioned anywhere. They have made a pact with Chaos. They have not sold their souls to Chaos.
Despite their bargain, despite they've made a deal with the Dark Gods, there's no wiggling out of it, even though there's some really cool notes in the lore about how some of them do want to wiggle out of it, but they know they can't. They are the most valued pieces the Dark Gods have. Like the Dark Gods they are not casual about using Dragon Ogres. They don't just throw them away. They are only really used in important conflicts. If you see a Dragon Ogre on the battlefield, you know some serious shit is going down. And that's just like a regular one. Like if you see a whole group of them, or a Shaggoth, for God's sakes, like you're dealing with an incursion at that point. It is not a regular warband anymore. Something that's super interesting about the Dragon Ogres is that they are one of the only units in Warhammer Fantasy history that actually migrated factions. There was a big split. Chaos used to be a unified book. There used to just be like Chaos. And then there was a split into the Hordes of Chaos and the Beasts of Chaos. And the Beasts of Chaos were all of your beastmen and creatures of the forest and creatures that seem to just kind of be allied with Chaos. The Dragon Ogres were interestingly put over there. And then the Hordes of Chaos were all of your human mortals, the creatures that they controlled and rode into battle, and the demons. The Dragon Ogres were originally part of the Beasts of Chaos. And there's a mention in the book that it seems the main reason for that is the Dragon Ogres refuse to serve under the demons. They don't want to serve any demonic masters because they are genuinely worried that their souls will be put at risk if they associate with full-on embodiments of the Dark Gods.
Demons are walking corruption. They are a walking perversion of everything that is the material realm, and we have more than one example in the lore where Dragon Ogres are expressly stating, and they're fiercely independent, that they have no interest at all on working with or directly dealing with demons. So there's a suggestion there that not only do they not like them, but there's a reason they don't like them, and the reason is probably the most obvious reason: they can corrupt, which does suggest that Dragon Ogres can corrupt in one fashion or another, and one of the reasons for their fierce independence is to ensure that that does not happen to them any further. What remains of their souls, they are keen to keep hold of. That being the case, I do not think that they are being particularly impressed with them. Indeed, they may have hard-coded into their little letter, their little deal with the Chaos Gods.
Yeah, demons.
You will not ever work alongside them.
Yeah, I could actually see Dragon Ogres, because being immortal and all this stuff, highly valuing their minds and in a sense their sanity, and not tolerating demons. I imagine they would either stay very far away from them or they would kill them if the demon continued to be an annoyance. So going back to the deal, what is said is that the Dragon Ogres gathered up and made contact somehow with the Dark Gods, and they had a meeting. They struck a bargain, and apparently it was not a simple thing. This probably lasted for days, if not weeks.
I imagine it probably lasted even longer given the nature of how Dragon Ogres perceive time, where they view the entirety of human civilization as nothing more than a recent growth of mold that has spread around and caterwauled in the distance, screaming and braying like a bunch of small animals. They don't even really perceive the entire passing of an age of humanity as more than a blip. So
that's
it wouldn't
crazy
surprise
to
me
think
if it's
about.
something that was drawn out, slow, and eventually plugged into place.
Because of the nature of their bargain with Chaos, it is very strongly suggested that they are not fully committed to Chaos. They don't really give a shit about the Dark Gods. They don't really seem to worship them. A lot of the time, it's just that they're like, all right, we made a pact, we have to fulfill it, but that's it. Don't call me when I'm off shift at work. I'm not going to pick up. Like, I made a commitment. I will fulfill that commitment, but I will do nothing beyond that. But there are some among the Dragon Ogres who I think...
I love that. They're boundary setters. Okay, the ads are hitting. The ads have hit. Or they will in just a second. So we'll chat for a little bit while the ads go. Get a little stretch. But yeah, this is, I like to dabble in Warhammer Fantasy every so often because I don't know too much about the lore, but growing up, I read a lot of fantasy books. I was a huge, what am I saying? I am still a huge nerd. And I read a lot of fantasy novels. Like, that was just my life. I read books all the time, and having a bit of Warhammer in like a fantasy setting is really nice, even if it's not the same grimdark that you have for Warhammer 40k. A nerd? Where? And I do enjoy the fantasy universe. The videos that I've watched by Pancreas, the lore I've gotten from Sotek, like there's so much to learn, and I do really enjoy it. Andra, thank you so much for subscribing with Prime. I appreciate it, man. Do I know what Valgast is? No, I do not. I'm not sure what that is. I did want to do more Total War Warhammer 3, but I think one of the updates like bricked our run through again. So I don't know when we'll get to play again. Running an empire is very, very difficult, as I learned. Bro, it was wild. It was wild. Yeah, the fantasy universe is cool. I actually got into the fantasy before 40k through my dad. Oh, that's cool. See, I don't know if I call myself, I guess, the black sheep in the sense that like my interests are very different from my family's. I'm probably the nerdiest member of my family, so I'm pretty much the only one who likes Warhammer, Dungeons and Dragons, similar nerdy things. Question, is fantasy more expensive than 40k? I actually don't know. I only own one fantasy mini, and that was for a fantasy themed subathon. So I don't know. Minor chaos entity Valgast mentioned. I guess so. I was not familiar with Valgast. I'm on the edge about Dawn of War 4, not sure what to expect. I'm debating. I may wait a little bit before playing it, but we will see. I hope it's good. The trailer that we just got was a bit weird, but I don't know. We will see. I really enjoyed Dawn of War when I played it. It was a good time. All right, the ads are over. Let us continue.
Genuinely revel in what they're doing, Kolek being one of them. And we know that Kolek Sun Eater plays a very key part in it. The whole reason Kolek is called the Sun Eater is apparently his part in the bargain was so horrible and so blasphemous that the sun will not look upon him ever again. It refuses to look at him. So wherever he goes, he is covered by an endless storm, which works very awesome for him. Yeah. That's why he's called the Herald of the Tempest, is because wherever he goes, he heralds a tempest because there's an endless storm following him around. Nature itself rebukes him. What the hell did he do? What actually happened in that bargain? But the trailer for the Warriors of Chaos introduction into Total War Warhammer features Kolek Sun Eater talking. He's talking to, he's kind of breaking the fourth wall, but he's talking to humans, and he's saying, our origins are unknowable. You can't comprehend why we do the things that we do.
Understand our origins, our motives. We are not fallen.
Oh. Oh, he's dead.
Fallen. I am ascended. I am better than you. I am a god. He's a very arrogant prick, but
I feel like he should be bigger. Like, he seems like ancient and like legendary type dragon ogre. I feel like he should be monstrous in size, much bigger than that.
Also is not entirely wrong. Some of the dragon ogre shaggots, like Kolek, are incredibly old. Kolek, to my knowledge of the characters we have in Total War Warhammer, he is the oldest character there is. Wow. He's even older than Lord Croak, because he has been around since before the old ones, before any of the dragon children.
That's
probably
crazy.
The only character we actually know in Total War who's older than him is like the Celestial Dragon Emperor himself and Krakenrock the Black. Way back. We're talking like probably before the foundation of the Empire. A collection of the most powerful living high elf Saphirian lore masters got together, tracked Kolek down in the wastes, and they imprisoned him within a glacier. And it's not just any glacier.
He is the Avatar. He is the last airbender.
It's a super special extra magic glacier that cannot be tampered with or destroyed by any mundane means. It is frozen utterly. And Kolek stays there for a super fucking long time, which is why Kolek Suneater doesn't actually play a role in much of the story. He's gone for thousands of years until he's finally woken up by the mad sorcerer Malefix. And Malefix finds Kolek Suneater and actually unleashes an insanely powerful spell that summons a firestorm down on top of Kolek's glacier, and it melts him out. And Kolek busts out in, I want to say 1730 of the imperial calendar, only a few hundred years ago, and he just goes on a rampage. He revels so much in war that Kolek gathers around him legions, armies, where he actually lives in the World's Edge Mountains. He doesn't hang out up in the Chaos Waste like most of the Dragon Ogres, in a really big crater. And he has a full-on cult where Kolek is worshipped as a mountain god, to the extent that Kolek even charged his followers with equipping him with a suit of brass armor, all the better to draw lightning towards him. It talks about there are hundreds, if not thousands of humans that worship him, and they all gather upon the mountaintops and they fall to their knees and they make worships and offerings until Kolek finally wakes up. What's really interesting about Kolek is he does not ignore the people that worship him. He has a literal horde that he acknowledges, and they follow in his shadow, which is genuinely very spooky, because that means he has a very different relationship with other followers of chaos than most other Dragon Ogre Shaggoths do. While Kolek is arrogant, he's not so independent, so to speak, in that he has followers who fashioned him armor and helped him make his big fucking hammer, which is Star Crusher. They believe him.
Yeah, that's a pretty sweet deal. That's a pretty sweet deal. I wouldn't ignore them either. I'd be like, yeah, you guys are cool. You guys are cool. You guys, I guess you can hang out with me. It's like a older and younger sibling. The older sibling, like, hey, get me this drink from the fridge. Thank you, bro. I guess you can hang out, watch me play video games.
To be a literal god of a mountain, or a living mountain, because he's fucking massive. Kolek Suneater is so big that he was the Attack on Titan meme before Attack on Titan was created. Kolek made his big debut, as far as like much of the wider world is concerned, at Prague. Laying siege to the city, Asvar Kul, big bad Everchosen, managed to pull Kolek into his side, which is impressive, but he is an Everchosen. And the siege was not necessarily going poorly, but also wasn't going great. Prague had lasted against many different Chaos Hordes over a very long period of time. It had really big walls. The Hordes of Chaos were having a hard time getting through it. There's this huge storm, right? He's the Herald of the Tempest. No one could see anything. It's a huge blizzard. He's believed to almost be a spirit of winter, because whenever he shows up, because the Tempest, there's often a blizzard around him and you can't see him, which is extra terrifying. When he showed up at the walls, they look up and all of a sudden they see this thing looking over the walls at them, and he raises up Star Crusher and he brings it down with a single blow and obliterates the wall of Prague.
Okay,
which
that
is
goes
amazing.
hard.
Pretty fucking cool. That's what that is.
Yeah, it is cool.
And then he forces himself into the city, and the Hordes of Chaos pour in after him. And of course, Prague is utterly fucked at that point. Kolek is noted to hate other gods, and I think it's because he's jealous. Kolek actually goes on a rampage throughout the Temple district of Prague, where he goes out of his way to tear down and destroy every single temple of every single god he can find. He wipes them all out, smashes all of them, and then, and only then, does he turn around and leave. He doesn't stay for all of the festivities. He doesn't stay for Asvar Kul's big ritual that turns Prague into a literal hellscape. He just leaves.
He's
He fulfilled his part of the bargain.
This is an individual who is working according to his own interests, his own desires, and yes, he has a job to do, but when it's done, he's done.
Like, fuck you guys, I'm out of here. Which I'm sure Kul would have loved to have had Kolek at the Siege of Kislev.
Oh yeah.
That probably would have made a huge difference.
Yes. I think there's another Dragon Ogre that we need to bring up, because this is another Dragon Ogre that, like Kraken Rock, the black is not necessarily the first Dragon Ogre. There's another option, Skaranarak. Now, you might not know Skaranarak. Skaranarak is a Dragon Ogre that was first mentioned in the Life of Sigmar, one of Black Library. In fact, I do have a copy of that one here. Good old Life of Sigmar. According to Life of Sigmar, which is definitely not Sigmarite propaganda, almost every single person in the Empire knows what a Dragon Ogre is, because their holy texts refer to them, because Sigmar faced one. Skaranarak was plaguing the Burgundians. For those of you who don't know your ancient Sigmarite tribes, that's modern-day Averland. And Sigmar wants to bring the Burgundians to his side as allies, in particular to help end the good old battle over at Blackfire Pass. He has approached the king of the Burgundians and said, hey, give us a hand. And let's cut a long story short. The deal was made that if you get rid of this problem, we'll come and join you. The problem was a giant fucking dragon ogre. We're not talking a small one here. We're talking about Sigmar wandering up to the mountain, seeing a fuck off huge cave, going, okay, fair enough. Wanders into the cave and finds Skaranarak asleep. And Sigmar comes creeping in. Sigmar saw what he was quite convinced was a noble, massive, terrifying creature with skeletons littering everywhere. He starts creeping up and the Chaos Gods say, yeah, fuck no, and the storms come rolling in. Lightning starts crashing, and just as Sigmar's thinking, maybe I should give him a big bolt with me hammer, Skaranarak awakens. Now, Skaranarak is expressly stated to be the founder of all dragon ogres. You could argue that this is an example of where we can clearly say maybe there is a female one, and this is it. So we now have ourselves what can only be described as an epic fight. This fucking fight went on for days as they're cracking away with hammer. He obviously doesn't need a snack. He doesn't just stop off and say, give us a moment, until eventually we all know who's going to win this because it's fucking Sigmar. Yeah. He eventually bops that dragon ogre in the face and cuts out part of one of its teeth and drags that back to the Burgundians to show they killed
Okay, that's metal.
A host of temples that were dedicated to that fight called the last Skaranarak temples that were added into the 2nd edition Tome of Salvation book. But interestingly, Sigmar only took one single fang to prove he'd done it. But what he could have done is said, hey, come with me and let's go back and look at this enormous corpse. Yeah. He doesn't do that. In terms of artifacts that we have definitely known to have survived, one claw and one fang surviving. One claw that lives in the last Skaranarak temple. I know it's there, I wrote it. One fang that lives in the original founding Burgundian city, which isn't a city, it's a tiny village actually with a big fang that's been sitting out with the elements for pretty much forever. Still unchanged because dragon ogres never fucking die.
Are you telling me there's a massive dragon ogre corpse in the mountains for necromancers to get at? Could be.
Yeah, he's
No.
I think Sigmar would have been a damn fool not to find a way to collapse that cave on top of that thing. Just to be sure.
And I think that's very likely
so
that trapped in a cave somewhere there is either a living or a dead one. Who's to say that it didn't survive it?
One of the things that's talked about a lot is that the dragon ogres sleep for super long periods of time. So long, in fact, that it's talked about in the lore that they have dreams. And for the dragon ogres, their dreams are so vivid that to them, the worlds they're in when they're dreaming, many of them believe that is reality. And that when they're awake in the Warhammer world, that is when they are dreaming, that they are pulled into a dream. There's even like one suggestion that one of the reasons they're able to be so cruel and awful and just like waylays to everything before them without a care of the world and actively push for the destruction of everything is because they don't believe the world is real. They think it's a dream that they're just pushing to its natural conclusion so that they can go back to being awake in the real world.
I really like this one.
That's interesting.
For the second edition bestiary for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay draws upon the general cosmology of Warhammer in that we're aware that there's this great loose connection in the greater cosmology between everything, and that certain entities have managed to bridge something bigger, something deeper, and that their essences, their actual lives are held in a completely different place, and that the material bodies that they have on the Warhammer world are nothing more than a material component of something far bigger and far more exceptional. Again, perhaps leading to the decision to make a deal with the Chaos Gods rather than not. And that in itself is fascinating. The Chaos Gods bridge between the Warhammer world and the 40k realm, and indeed any other realm that Games Workshop decides to make up.
If you check out the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 2nd edition book, the Tome of Corruption,
Corruption. That's a book I developed.
Yeah, really cool segment about how there are some Norscan tribes that believe real life is just a dream, and that dying in battle is how you kind of ascend from the dream.
I forgot that was even in there.
Yeah, that actually ties directly into the dragon ogres, and it suggests there may be a relationship, like the dragon ogres may have inspired some elements of Norscan religion, but the dragon ogres may view the same situation, that dying in battle is waking up from the dream. One of the things I really like about that Life of Sigmar quote that you talked about, that I think is true for a lot of dragon ogres, is they're very heavily implied to have warrior spirits. Of that, when they wake up and they go to war, they feel alive in conflict. Many of the dragon ogres genuinely loathe their existence except for when they're fighting. That dragon ogre has lived for so long and is just waiting to die, except for when he fights. When something actually has the possibility of killing him and he's fighting for his
excited.
life, that's when he feels most alive. There's stakes. Man, that makes immortality sound like it really sucks.
Yeah, it does, honestly.
In the Storm of Magic book, all the monsters that are being presented in that book to summon up and have wizards control, but dragon ogres don't really fit that because they're not really bindable creatures. They can't really be controlled, but they add an extra little detail in there saying that some sorcerers, particularly one Cabal, had found a method of controlling them by using lightning to drive them into frenzies and directing them towards others.
I love that so much because it actually had a rule as well. They had the shackled by lightning rule, so they counted as permanently frenzied.
Yeah.
Oh.
And that's fun.
But how wise are they? Like, if you somehow found a calm and clear-minded dragon ogre, how would the conversation go? Probably really interesting. They are very, very wise. They're exceedingly wise. They just don't really like the world very much.
Yeah, but we've got a bit of an issue with dragon ogres because we've got dragon ogres that are obviously much younger because they're smaller. So do consider that. We have an issue with procreation because of that too. And so the idea they can't procreate makes no actual sense when you examine it. It's why I always say the myth of they can't procreate. It just doesn't make sense. There must be clutches or new ones being born somehow. You have younger ones.
Okay,
But
okay.
even the younger
That makes
ones,
sense.
as they're generally presented, ancient as far as most are concerned,
Mhm.
wise, and quite beyond the material concern. It's just that they probably have zero interest or care in doing so.
It kind of goes with like Throg, right? Like Throg the Troll King is terrifying and awful and kills people and vomits on them, whatever. But Throg sometimes gets bored. If you come across him, he'll chat with you because he's got nothing better to do. There is a unlikely chance that could happen with the Shaggoth because you have to remember most of the time
Be
they're asleep.
careful.
When they wake up, it's usually
Oh, I got my
because
goat
they've
trick
been
and
woken up
Felix.
for a reason. So they're gonna go off and fight and then go back to sleep. But if you got super fucking lucky, then yeah, you could probably chat with one.
Some would. To speak of the species as being this monolithic entity, as in they're all the same, is a complete nonsense. Individuals, no matter of how alien their mindsets are going to be occurring in a variety of different ways. So some of them will be waxing lyrical about their state of affairs, where others will be closed-lipped and not caring. The gamut of different relationships you could have with them was probably wide, but given the nature of their characters, it's probably only a very small number that would be interested in those sort of conversations.
Yeah, what's interesting is that there's actually a note, it's only in the second edition book, which just introduces a lot of really cool ideas, that says that some, if not all, of the dragon ogres are capable of essentially astral projecting, where their spirits or their consciousness is able to roam the world.
They're just more and more busted the more I'm like hearing here.
And see what's going on, because it talks about that when the dragon ogres wake up, they're surprisingly knowledgeable about what's going on. One of the really interesting that it introduces is you can have a dragon ogre that has seen some interesting things and might recognize someone from a potential nation or something that he sees and he goes, oh, I want to talk to this person for whatever reason.
Yeah, totally.
The dragon ogres and the ogres actually hate the fuck out of each other.
Do not like.
There's actually a whole
I'm the true ogre. There can only be one.
whole segment in the Ogre Kingdom's army books dedicated to the dragon ogres. When the Ogre Kingdoms initially got pushed out of their ancestral lands because Great Maw happened, they went into the ancient giant lands and eventually the mountains of Morn. They found out the mountains were already occupied by the dragon ogres, and the dragon ogres and the ogres had these fucking colossal fights. The second they laid eyes on each other, they were like, fuck that guy, I'm gonna kill him and eat him. And it got ugly. Even by the standards of chaos and ogres, the war was considered ugly. Because you had Shaggoths waking up and all of these big storms. They won the war and they pushed the dragon ogres out. But there is a bitter relationship there. I would say even more bitter than the modern dragon ogres and the dragons have.
The bitterness is probably one way, because for the vast majority of the ogres, it will be outside living memory. The ogres are not exactly known for their great historical record. They do an awful lot of oral telling of tales. There's going to be a memory of it, but it's not going to carry the same weight of bitterness that will lie on the other side. Because if we are speaking about a species that has a finite number, there will have been deaths and have a deal with. It's potentially one of the biggest events for their entire species in terms of the impact that it has.
For the dragon ogres, that was probably one of the greatest tragedies or catastrophes for their race.
Defo.
They lost a lot. in that fight. Those mountain ranges seem to be kind of ideal for them. Like they're some of the largest mountain ranges in the world.
They probably are the biggest.
And they had been there forever.
Yeah. In the beginning, there were dragon ogres, and these dragon ogres lived in an icy, horrible wasteland of a planet. And eventually, these dragon ogres fall into a mighty war with the dragon. This is a war that they do not fare well in. The old ones come, and when the old ones come, they move the world, and they move it from being an icy hellhole into the Warhammer world that we all know and love today. This is not an environment that suits the dragon ogres as well as they had before. And it's quite clear that probably the end that the dragon ogres fear now almost certainly is going to come to pass. They become so desperate that they reach out to the Chaos Powers, or the Chaos Powers reach out to them. And 10,000 years ago, from the point when the world ended, a deal was made between the Chaos Gods and the dragon ogres. This was not a deal, a pact where they sold their souls off towards chaos and said, we are yours forever. Actually, it was much more like a deal between peers. You could almost see the dragon ogres as so old, so ancient, and so powerful that the Chaos Gods themselves needed their help. And they, the Chaos Gods, wanted to end the world. That was their plan. They agreed to this particular pact. The dragon ogres are now changed. They become something new. And approximately 1,000 to 2,000 years later, that plan starts with the cataclysm. It takes ages. This is not something that happens immediately, because we know the date of the cataclysm, and it wasn't 10,000 years ago. Given by the dates that we have in the most recent army lists, the deal was made long before the cataclysm begun. The cataclysm occurs, the dragon...
So they just wanted to have an ace up their sleeve, pretty much.
Ogres fight on the side of chaos, and the dragon ogres will continue to return to be the great whetstone, if we will, for the chaos forces, in that they stand as a challenge to be beaten and will hone the forces of chaos to eventually wipe out the real world.
I want to know if there are any other individuals or groups that have like killed dragon ogres. Like, we obviously know Sigmar killed one, and a very big one, but like, are there stories of other dragon ogres being like killed? I think that's like the one question I have in all of this.
They also arrive with each ever chosen and agree to fight under certain circumstances. And they do certain things as each ever chosen makes its attempt to end the world. They don't succeed 12 times. They do succeed on the 13th. And on the 13th time, all the dragon ogres awake. Blackened skies, full of lightning and Azir and all the rest of it. As dragon ogres, indeed, according to one legend, even the dead dragon ogres return, the world is ended, and boom, the deal comes to an end, and the dragon ogres are now free to be their own thing. And apparently, they pop off to the realm of Azir and have a happy old time there until fucking Sigmar comes along and screws with their shit. Screw that guy. So there's one way to summarize all of that. The dragon ogres have got no clear description of having, for example, any faith, any gods outside of the Chaos Gods and the deal that they've made with those. They've got no description of their culture beyond the fact that they sleep and they wake up and they fight. So there's a great lacking of any official information.
The dreaming concept of that, they have these alternate worlds that they're in that they dream.
That's a good one, yeah.
And supposedly, like, these dreams are consistent enough that when they go back to sleep, they return to that same place.
I
so
wish
there's
I could
almost
do
a
that.
real interesting question there of, is it a dream? Or is it something more?
After all, to us, Warhammer is nothing more than a big made-up world.
Yeah, so...
the dragon ogres are us.
Yeah.
Oh.
The dragon ogres are Games Workshop. Everything makes sense now. But no wonder they rushed the end times out. They're like, finally, we can get this over with.
We can
actually
die.
made it the whole time, which is surprising. Me and Andy did not
Indeed.
think that was going to happen.
Before this stream started, we were half convinced we wouldn't have enough to talk about because there's only a few pages of actual proper lore about the dragon ogres, but a couple of characters on top of that, a few extra stories. It's surprising just how much you can discuss. I would like to say thanks for everyone who turned up, and I would also like to say, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, frickin' subscribe already.
Please.
That's what we're here for.
Smash that like and subscribe.
And press all those buttons and just generally say thanks, because we sit here chatting away because we love it, but we also like it if you click those buttons because
click the like button.
Us going.
Push
That's it for us
buttons.
today. Thank you.
This was a solid video. I thought it was fascinating learning about the dragon ogres, so, you know, want to share that with you guys. I know they're doing similar stuff like this, that they'll be like releasing more of this like content, more of that. Because I really like this, and like they're really knowledgeable. Like they talked quite a bit for only a couple pages of lore. Yeah, there's some like, oops, sorry about that. Yeah, there was some like interpretation, extrapolation, but overall I thought it was really cool to learn about this, because I was like, what is a dragon ogre? And they're big and bad, to say the least. Yeah, I like how they like cut it up. Like their live streams are definitely pretty long, but I like how this one was like trimmed up, because I don't know, I found it very informative. Let's see. We have time for another video. Let's see. Oh, there's a Custodes video. It's probably too long. Oh, we haven't done an Astartes Anonymous video. Let me see how long this is.
Few beings in the 41st
Oh my gosh, it's an hour.
millennium can stand
Oh my gosh, sorry. It's an hour long. Oh, I thought this was like the types. Holy. So there are, some are types and then some are straight up just the names. Oh no. Okay, I do want to watch this, but I don't. My time is limited. I have to go back to the mines. Okay, I'm going to save that for later. Yeah, the Dreadnought one's also long. Because that looks really good. Hang on. Okay, good. I am subscribed. Let's see. Oh! Eyes of the Emperor. Secrets of the Ex-Custodian. Oh, I'm sold. We're gonna watch this.
The Oculus Imperator.
We're gonna watch that because I like Custodes and that looks fire. 2x speed. Oh my gosh, it's like it'll be too long. Like you would not have a good time. Do not have a good time. I love my gold. Yes, I love my banana boys. They're great. Yeah, we're gonna talk about my retirement. This is my plan for retirement. Let me check the audio.
The Oculus Imperatoris, also known as the Eyes of the Emperor, might...
Did we like that? Was that a good volume for you guys? Cool. Yeah, 2x speed, you're not really comprehending. I'll watch things at most 1.5 speed. And it's more like I'm listening than watching. All right, it's time to discuss my retirement plan.
Also known as the Eyes of the Emperor, might be one of the most misunderstood factions in the Imperium, if not in all of Warhammer 40k. A faction that is constantly misrepresented and has more depth and presence in the setting than most realize. Sure, some of these demigods disappear into the shadows and become little more than Imperial spies, but in reality, the Eyes of the Emperor at large become so much more. They're assassins, infiltrators, secret rulers of entire planets, and sometimes even inquisitors. But if that's not enough to grab your attention, then I have to tell you that somewhere out in the galaxy is an unofficial shield host of heavily augmented ex-Custodes fighting its own secret war. The Eyes of the Emperor aren't just another branch of the Imperium. They aren't just superhuman spies. They are something far more dangerous, and something that may have been driving countless stories on a massive scale within Warhammer 40k for a very long time. But first, a quick and welcome word from the sponsor of today's video. One custodian is worth 100 warriors. Unbreakable, unyielding, unmatched. The Adeptus Custodes have arrived in Warhammer 40,000 Tacticus. This is Warhammer 40,000 Tacticus, the ultimate mobile turn-based tactical strategy game in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. Build your squad from 80 plus champions across 18 factions and take on PvE campaigns, PvP battles, guild raids, and more, all in lightning fast tactical
I've never
skirmishes.
played any of
and the
these.
Custodes? These are frontline melee tanks, the personal guards of the Emperor himself, built to annihilate anything in their path. They absorb insane amounts of damage and return the favor tenfold. I have loved
get
playing.
Mortarian.
The Tacticus devs have done a great job bringing the unmatched Custodes power trip to the game. They're launching with back-to-back events, Watchers of the Throne, the Trajan Valoris Legendary event, and the Asoth Kumadra release, so now's the time to jump in. I love that Tacticus keeps evolving. New champions, new game modes, constant updates. Tacticus has earned its 4.5-star rating on the App Store. Download Warhammer 40,000 Tacticus now using my link in the description or scan the QR code. Whether you're new or a Warhammer veteran, the game is dripping with content for you to enjoy. Use code HelloJuly to get 50 Blackstone and 20 energy instantly. Come and play
I do like
Warhammer
the
40,000
animations they have
Tacticus
for the
today.
game. They're pretty good.
To understand why and how the roles of the eyes of the Emperor are so varied, there are a few custodian skills we need to touch upon first. Skills that are often forgotten under the insurmountable weight of constantly being compared to the Space Marines. The Adeptus Custodes aren't just golden demigods standing guard at the Emperor's side.
Correct.
Thanks to the 8th edition Custodes Codex, we know these warriors are trained to be masters of just about everything. Take assassination, for example. Properly equipped, a custodian can match any operative from the Officio Assassinorum,
Oh,
but their
easily.
skills extend far beyond that of just killing. The Custodes are also trained to be political heavyweights. We know from the same codex that they're trained in diplomacy and statecraft. 10,000 can command a battlefield like a top-tier Imperial Guard general if
They're
that is what is needed
busted.
of them. So thorough is the education of the Custodes because once upon a time, the Emperor needed peers, intellectual equals, not just bodyguards, but companions he could actually converse with. We see much of this in the Master of Mankind
Yes.
novel with Ra and Endymion, a custodian tribune who the Emperor repeatedly confides in throughout the book. The
I love that book. I really like that book. That's what made me really like the Custodes, because I was like, man, these guys are just so sick. I love them.
Golden Legion has always operated outside of the Imperium's chain of command, too. Neither the High Laws of Terror nor the Inquisition can bring them to heel through authority alone. And to top it off,
duh.
they've got unfiltered access to the Imperium's deepest secrets. Even their minds are fortified. While they're not psychers or blanks, their 8th edition codex tells us that they're protected from the warp in ways we can't or won't be able to fully understand. This has been reflected in the tabletop games in various editions, where lone custodian commanders would be able to manifest various Deny the Witch tests to shut down enemy psychers without raising a sword or firing a bolt round.
I love
the
that.
10,000 aren't just warriors, they're perfection made manifest. Their gene-crafted organs outperform even the most advanced cybernetics, as detailed in the 10th edition codex. That's how
I
refined
need
they
that
are.
mod.
Their creation
I
is
need
so
this
immense
mod.
that no bionic that exists within the
Wow,
Imperium could
beautiful
replace
armor.
a part of custodian physiology without making that warrior less effective. And the custodian mindset too mirrors this innate necessitation of perfection. Thanks to a number of books, including Regent Shadow 2020, we know that their core philosophy is simple. If it were not possible to do a thing perfectly, then it should not be done at all.
Ooh, yeah.
Perfection isn't a goal or an aspiration for the Custodes, like it has been for the Emperor's Children and the Iron Hands. It's the standard, the baseline. Anything less simply isn't worthy of their
Correct.
undertaking or acknowledgement. Now, we must move on to the first major misconception of the eyes of the Emperor. Though I say misconception, I believe it's more of a collective gross overstatement by the community, to be exact. There's this widespread belief that becoming an Eye of the Emperor is just what happens when a custodian gets old and starts to slow down. And yes, some Eyes are older custodians who've served for centuries or millennia and have
Right.
finally begun
That's
to feel
true.
the weight of time upon their shoulders. But there's a few hints in the lore to tell us they're not the majority. A big factor here is augmentation. The 10th edition Custodes Codex reminds us that a custodian's organs are superior to any cybernetic implant. Nothing, no augmetic or piece of tech can match their handcrafted biological perfection. When those organs are damaged beyond natural recovery, or when injury forces even minor augmetic replacements, that perfection is compromised. This is why there are literally
That's a
in
fair
time,
point. I
there's
hadn't
only
thought about
2
that.
official depictions of an Eye of the Emperor. One found in the 8th edition Adeptus Custodes Codex, and the other in the 10th. The one in the 8th doesn't show a withered old warrior. Instead, it shows a figure almost entirely rebuilt with cybernetics. And that's no accident.
Oh.
The same codex notes that custodians tire not from age, but from injury, lost limbs, artificial eyes, augmetic organs. These imperfections don't kill them, but they erode the physical perfection that defines them. For many, it's this mechanical intrusion, not the passing of centuries, that marks the beginning of their path as an eye. Though I will freely admit the 10th edition depiction doesn't show an eye covered in cybernetics, but is instead a custodian so covered in robes that one can't identify much beyond the eyes. For a custodian, their philosophy of perfection, of serving the Emperor with an ideal body and an ideal mind, is a really big deal. If their body or mind no longer reflects that ideal, they don't just push through it, they step aside. And that's where the eyes come in.
They're not
For
arrogant.
some, becoming an eye is a way to continue serving in a manner befitting their current form. We know from the 8th edition codex that when a custodian deems himself unfit for frontline service, he returns his war gear to the Hall of Armaments and disappears into the galaxy in hooded black robes. It's a quiet, almost monastic rite of passage. However, this is another community-wide misconception that's only partially true. As per the 10th edition codex, the eyes may in fact take pieces of custodian equipment into their new role with the Captain General's blessing. I'm of the mind that there are two schools of
Okay,
thought
that makes
for what
sense.
equipment they can take, but I'll cover that later in this video.
Ooh, okay,
In any
good.
event, this change matters. It reinforces that these warriors aren't retiring. They're repurposing, still powerful, still vigilant, just not bound to the throne or any shield host. Thanks to Regent Shadow again, we know from SHIELD Captain Valerian that those who become eyes haven't exactly faded into irrelevance. In fact, he describes them as individuals who've barely lost any of their might, still capable of feats far beyond that of most beings in the galaxy, imperial or otherwise.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like just custodians by themselves are incredibly busted. Even if you're even if they're like 50% of what they are normally even if they achieve 50% of what they're normally even if they can only achieve half of what they normally would, that's still significantly greater than most like mortals and even like space marines could like do. Words.
So it's not about weakness, it's about change, a shift in how they serve the Emperor. The reason for stepping into this role varies.
I will not elaborate as to whether or not I am an eye of the Emperor or otherwise.
As mentioned, some are veterans of countless campaigns whose mental faculties have begun to erode. The 10th edition codex refers to these rare cases as others, implying they're a minority. But the truth is, most eyes still likely possess sharp minds and devastating skill.
Absolutely.
The shift is philosophical, driven by the smallest deviation from the impossible standards they hold themselves to. Whether due to battle damage, physical strain, or yes, even the encroachment of age, something changes, and that change is enough. But even among the Custodes, not everyone accepts the mantle of the Eye. For those who feel they failed in some way, morally, spiritually, or dishonored themselves in some capacity, some custodians see themselves as unworthy to become an Eye. In those cases, they choose a far darker path, intentional dreadnought internment. The 8th edition codex gives us insight into this. Unlike the Astartes, the Custodes are less likely to see dreadnoughts not as honored second lives, but as prisons of pain. This is one truly perilous downside to having such an all-encompassing education. Every single custodian knows that dreadnought interment is a living, paralyzing hell. Even the Contemptor Dreadnought, a relic revered by the Space Marine chapters that are lucky enough to possess one or two in the 41st millennium, is the least valued by the 10,000. They instead favor their Telemon, Galatas, and Achilles patterns. But make no mistake, they understand that every dreadnought existence is a tomb of suffering. This tells us a lot about how the Custodes view those amongst their number who become eyes. It's something held honorably aloft, a role those who've deemed themselves dishonorable will intentionally avoid in favor of perpetual torture, as they themselves have not upheld the custodian ideal and philosophy of perfection. SHIELD Captain Valerian even notes that those who become an eye of the Emperor embody the custodian philosophy better than anyone or anything by acknowledging their own imperfection.
Oh, okay.
As I mentioned before, it's easy to think the eyes of the Emperor just disappear into the shadows and spend the rest of their days watching, waiting, reporting. But that's actually another community misconception that really undersells what they actually do. Once a custodian becomes an eye, their work doesn't stop or slow down. In fact, for plenty, it becomes far more active than when they were a part of the Golden Legion. Some stay on Terra and dive into its web of secrets. Others vanish into the stars to act on their own judgment. They're not merely sentinels anymore. They're spies, leaders, detectives, generals, and sometimes rulers of entire worlds. The Shadow Agents of Terra. One of the most fascinating things about the Eyes of the Emperor is they're not just assigned a mission and sent on their way. They actually get to choose how they serve as an eye. And that's not speculation either.
That's really
we
cool.
know from Regent Shadow 2020 that when a custodian becomes an eye, they're given the freedom to decide how best to continue serving. It could mean vanishing into the void, roaming the stars alone like a golden ghost.
Or streaming to people.
Or it could mean staying right at the heart of the Imperium, on Terra itself. Take Oculus Imperatoris Kaluin, for example. He's one of the very few named eyes we've got in the lore, and the novel tells us that he chose to remain on Terra as part of the Custodes' vast hidden spy network. Considering Terra's status, not just as head of the Imperium, but as one of the most overpopulated and volatile hive worlds in existence, it makes a lot of sense that multiple eyes would stay close. And Kaluin himself? He's ancient. So old that Shield Captain Valerian barely understands the form of High Gothic he speaks, ostensibly a language from another time. He lives in a tiny room, surrounded by maps and data, like some kind of divine conspiracy theorist. It's a small glimpse into how an eye's life can look. They're shaped by their own purpose, their chosen purpose, and that freedom, that personal agency is what makes Eyes of the Emperor so compelling. Spies and deceivers. This is what most people think the Eyes of the Emperor do exclusively. Slip through the shadows, watch from afar, and maybe whisper a warning if something's about to go wrong. And whilst that's part of it, it's only the beginning. But it's very cool nonetheless. Some eyes go completely solo, slipping through the shadows like walking omens, showing up exactly where they need it and leaving just as quietly. Others take a more social route, building entire networks of informants and agents. They don't just rely on oaths or loyalty either. Sometimes fear and raw presence do a better job. The 8th edition codex tells us some eyes use intimidation when honor falls short. But the 10th edition codex takes it a step further, describing how they overawe people into compliance. And I genuinely find that hilarious.
Yep, I
the
like
Eyes
that
of the
too.
Emperor don't just ask you to cooperate, they'll mog you into doing it. They
Yes, I was thinking that.
show up, say very little, and suddenly your soul knows it's time to fall in line. If an Eye of the Emperor sees something threatening Terra or the Emperor, the 8th edition codex says they use secret channels to alert the Captain General. And that sounds clean in theory, but we know from Regent Shadow that this communication isn't always reliable. Messages can be delayed, lost, or flat out ignored, which means, more often than not, the Eye just has to deal with the threat themselves. No backup, no ceremony. Just a lone golden juggernaut deciding the fate of entire populations with nothing but their own terrifying intuition. One of the cool and lesser known aspects of Eyes that take up this role is how they can reattach to Adeptus Custodes strike forces in combat. Take note of Oculus Imperatoris Femus, an Eye of the Emperor who has been a part of the Gilded Talon Shield Company for combat missions. Whilst the 8th Ed Codex doesn't say it openly, I believe that having an eye attached to a shield company can only reasonably be assumed to show that said eye has provided said company with its mission objective and is present to help see it through.
Okay, I like that.
Bureaucratic demigods. Here's something that you probably didn't know. Some Eyes of the Emperor end up working deep inside the Administratum.
Paperwork.
Yep, some of these towering golden warriors take off the warplate and step straight into the bureaucratic nightmare that runs the Imperium.
Couldn't be
and in
me.
a fun, roundabout way, they're really well suited for it. Remember, the Custodes are masters of all things. Within the confines of the Imperium, their intellect is only really surpassed by Primarchs. The 10th edition Custodes Codex tells us that some eyes take up roles as high adepts, diving headfirst into mountains of data and records, combing through endless streams of logistics to spot the tiniest signs of treachery. It is a kind of warfare, just one fought with information instead of weapons. During their
Still
time in the
important.
Administratum, they'll in all probability command entire teams, dozens or even hundreds of minor adepts, who'll help process and track the absurd scale of information pouring through the Imperium every second. It's not glamorous in the slightest, but it's crucial. After all, a missed supply run or a false report can spiral into a planetary catastrophe if left unchecked. What makes this role so interesting is how it reflects the broader strengths of the Custodies. They're not just built to fight and kill, they're built to understand. It's similar to how Rabute Gilliman raised the Ultramarines, valuing governance as much as battle acumen. In the novel No No Fear, we see that Gilliman envisioned a future where his sons would rule and manage humanity benevolently, not just wage war forever. These retired Custodies fight corruption and incompetence from the inside out, putting their unmatched intellect into overdrive. And in a system as bloated and unstable as the Imperium, sometimes the pen is indeed mightier than the sword.
That's a bit cheesy. Bit cheesy.
Doomslayers, warlords,
Ooh,
generals.
yes. Yes.
Not every eye of the Emperor fades into shadow or slips into the bureaucratic grind. Some of them go full Doomslayer. From what we can gather in the 10th edition Codex, there's a strong implication that some eyes choose a far more direct approach, seeking out war zones or hostile regions they can handle alone and just go to work. Just one demi-god of war ripping and tearing until the problem is solved. It's not spelled out beat for beat, but it's pretty clear that some eyes take the fight to the enemy in the most brutal and straightforward way possible. But not all of them operate as lone wolves. The same codex suggests that eyes can step into the role of generals, commanders who take to the field alongside Imperial forces, be it some militia or the Imperial Guard. The idea of an eye inspiring battered guardsmen to rally and counterattack is entirely in line with how these warriors think. They're commanding presences, capable of turning panic into fury and retreat into defiance. This mix of roles, brutal executioner or rallying leader, really shows how flexible the eyes are in their methods. They're not locked into any one way of fighting or serving. Once they're outside the structure of the 10,000, they choose what they believe is most needed. Sometimes that's quiet observation. Other times it's turning a battlefield into a butcher's yard, or stepping up to lead when no one else can. That freedom to decide how to wage war on their own terms is hands down one of my favorite things about this underrepresented faction.
No, that is true. That's fair. I wouldn't have thought that they could pick what they wanted to do, but they could also be versatile. They could like change at any moment what they decide to do and how they do it.
Planetary rulers in Nihilus. One of the wildest bits of lore around the eyes of the Emperor in the new Codex comes from the aftermath of the Great Rift, when the galaxy tore in half and communication with huge swathes of the Imperium was lost. A lot of custodians operating as eyes got stranded on the wrong side, in Imperium Nihilus. And, as you might have guessed, they haven't been idle. We know that some of these stranded eyes witnessed entire worlds slipping into corruption, planetary governors going rogue, systems falling into chaos, all of it playing out with no one from Terra able to respond. So what did the eyes do? They took over. More than one world in Imperium Nihilus is being entirely run by an eye of the Emperor. It's very ultramarine coded, but the truth is, the eyes will often find themselves in situations where they are just outright the most qualified person to do a job, and this is no different. These are beings trained not just for combat, but for diplomacy, governance, philosophy. So when everything else falls apart, they can step in and hold the line, not just on the battlefield, but across an entire planetary system. Becoming an Inquisitor.
This is interesting.
By now, it should be pretty clear that the eyes of the Emperor are so much more than silent watchers or shadowy informants. Thanks to the 10th Ed Codex, we know they're not just spies or spy masters. They can become almost anything the Imperium needs them to be. Some become assassins, moving through the galaxy, eliminating threats before they can spread. Others take a more subtle approach, working as saboteurs, raiders, or architects of misinformation campaigns. The Codex even mentions that some eyes have formed and led what can only be described as private military forces, hiring mercenaries, working through intermediaries, and running black ops outfits that answer only to them. And yes, in some cases, eyes have spent time masquerading as cult leaders, guiding religious armies like zealot demagogues in the Emperor's name. But my personal favorite, the eyes who become Inquisitors. It's said in the 10th Ed Codex that eyes have taken on this role, and it's
Interesting.
perfect. Who's going to question it? They already answer only to the Captain General, the Emperor, and possibly Rabute Gilliman himself, the three most powerful men in the Imperium. An eye posing as an Inquisitor can pull rank on practically anyone.
Absolutely.
And better still, most never even reveal themselves. Many operate entirely through intermediaries, voxes, or shell agents, so their true identity is never uncovered by their enemies or allies.
I was gonna say, I was like, oh, but they're kind of big. How did they get away with that? That's how.
But some, in more intimate circumstances, will reveal the truth to a trusted retinue, so their agents know they serve not just any master, but a custodian, an emissary of the God Emperor himself. Which brings me to my favorite little theory. If you've been playing Warhammer 40,000 Darktide,
yes,
you probably know about Interrogator Ranning, this no-nonsense, sharp-tongued officer who looks like Gary Oldman in The Fifth Element. He works directly under Inquisitor Grendel, a figure we know practically nothing about. The game goes out of its way to make Grendel mysterious. No one knows what he looks like, no one knows where he came from, and even his closest operatives only get vague instructions filtered through layers of command. Now here's the fun bit. Grendel doesn't operate like a typical Inquisitor. He's got a whole army on standby. His commandeered ship is full of rogue traders, interrogators, and the Mobian 53rd, a full guard regiment under Commissar Duquesne. That's not a retinue, it's a war machine. He's also got agents like the spy Swagger working under him, folks who definitely don't fall into the honorable category. It's a weird ragtag force, and Grendel holds it all together wordlessly from the shadows. We get even more in the Darktide Miniatures Game Rulebook 2024, where it says Grendel tasked an interrogator, one we never see in the video game, with investigating the Cold Iron Stack while he would personally oversee the rooting out of corruption throughout the entire Hive City. That doesn't sound like the job of a guy sitting in a command chair.
No.
That sounds like someone who's boots on the ground, someone capable of operating alone, eliminating high-value threats in person, someone like an eye of the Emperor. So here's my theory. Grendel is an eye. He's operating under a false name. Or maybe Grendel is his real name. After all, Custodes take their spoken name from ancient human myth.
Yeah.
Grendel being a respelling of Grendel from the story of Beowulf fits perfectly. He's answering to no one but the Captain General and running a shadow war across Hive Tertium with a scale and subtlety that fits everything we know about what the eyes can do. He stays hidden because his presence alone would upend the balance of command. And while the game's rejects are off handling smaller missions, Grendel is down there in the depths, probably going full Doomslayer on whatever nightmare is brewing. It fits too well. And if it turns out to be true, it would be one of the coolest lore drops in recent memory.
I agree.
That's just a theory. A game theory.
War gear of the eyes. So as I said before, the most recent Custodes Codex tells us that custodians may retain some of their equipment when they become Eyes of the Emperor. That tiny little detail opens up a really fascinating area of discussion. What do these former golden demigods actually carry with them when they step out into their new role? When it comes to the armaments and equipment of the Eyes of the Emperor, for me, thought is a bit more flexible. I would posit that when a custodian submits their weapons and war gear to the Hall of Armaments, part of the ritual when they leave behind their formal duties, they're not just giving everything up permanently. Instead, they might be allowed to submit a request for new, tailored war gear to the new role. This makes a lot of sense to me. If you're about to spend the next 100, 200, 300 years running a covert network of informants on Terra, maybe you don't need a full set of Auramite's plate and a Guardian spear.
It might
but if
be
you're headed
too much.
into a chaos-infested Hive City to single-handedly dismantle a cult dedicated to Nurgle, like perhaps a certain Inquisitor Grendel, then yeah, you might need some actual combat kit. If you're going full Doomslayer on a planetary scale, it's completely reasonable to think that a custodian could requisition some of their old gear or even something new, better suited to the mission. And to back that up, I'd argue that if a custodian is planning to operate in a very specific way, it stands to reason that they'd be granted equipment to match that intent. As an example, I want to talk about kinetic destroyers. For those of you unfamiliar, the kinetic destroyers are ornate, heavy archaeotech revolvers, wielded by the Venatari Custodes. These things are gorgeous, and more importantly, they hit like a bus. We know from the Black Book Liber Imperium, the Custodes archaeotech pistols are only given to shield captains, tribunes, and custodians who've excelled held during the Blood Games. The intense series of trials that test every part of a custodian's capability, and those who succeed sometimes go on to become Venatari. The reason I bring this up is because the Kinetic Destroyer is one of the few custodian weapons that could realistically be concealed. It's small by custodian standards,
correct, yeah,
powerful, and has a serious punch, easily outclassing a bolt shell. If you've got a custodian running covert ops, trying to keep a low profile, this is exactly the kind of thing you'd imagine them carrying. So in that light,
sure,
the
I
first
agree.
school of thought holds up well. Specialized missions might allow for specialized gear. Now, let's move on to the second school of thought. This one is a bit simpler, and I'll admit, it's a bit more likely. Custodes' war gear is handcrafted to the individual. We're not talking about standardized kits. So
Right,
under
this
this
is
view,
true.
any weapons or armor an eye takes with them after leaving the ranks would just be drawn from stuff they've already used. Not necessarily everything they once wore or wielded, but certainly some of it. It's consistent with the idea of a lifelong commitment to their gear. They don't swap out weapons like Astartes might for the sake of variety. Custodes build a deep familiarity with their tools, because they're lumped with the exact same tools for centuries, and that bond wouldn't just vanish once they step into a new role. It's a little sad in a way, because it limits the idea of eyes walking out with new custom loadouts. But it's clean, it fits, and again, Custodes don't need flashy relics to be deadly. A power sword in their hands is more than enough to destroy basically anything that a Guardian Spear could bring low. Now, regardless of which of these schools of thought you lean toward, I think it's pretty safe to assume that there are limits. The Custodes, like the Astartes, have access to vaults. I highly doubt any of those items are ever assigned to the eyes. Take the Presidius, for example. When it was first mentioned in Psychic Awakening, War of the Spider, it was described as an armor plate with integrated bubble deflector shield generators, basically a miniaturized version of the flare shields you'd see on super heavy Space Marine tanks, only wearable. Then, in 10th edition, they expanded its rules and effects in-game to act more or less like an invisibility cloak. It makes the user impossible to target until they're already in killing range. It would be the most brilliant type of weapon to give to any Eye of the Emperor. But no, the Presidius isn't going with any eye into the field. It's sealed in the war vaults of the Aquilon Shield host, where it will remain. The same goes for Adrathic weapons. I won't go into a deep dive here, but if you're unfamiliar, Adrathic weaponry is an ancient form of Terran energy weapon, used almost exclusively by the Custodes and Sisters of Silence. It's described as a weapon that unravels matter at a molecular level, melting enemies into nothingness. They're extremely unstable and are ostensibly just greater disintegration weapons. Their reclamation was prioritized by the Emperor himself during the Unification Wars, and they've remained locked down ever since. It's hard to imagine an eye casually walking off with one, even if it were part of their original panoply of war. But aside from those truly legendary pieces, I don't see why most standard Custodes gear would be off limits. The Codex doesn't go into deep detail about how much an eye can take, but the Custodes have always been about functionality and enabling perfect functionality. If a Custodian has a good reason to bring their full warplate or primary weapon into the field, I don't think the Captain General's going to stop them. And while we're at it, outside of Astartes armor, relic war gear, and vehicles, there's not much a Custodian couldn't use or have if they wanted to. Heroes of the Oculus Imperatoris. For some Custodians, their time as Eyes of the Emperor may well end up being the most defining part of their entire existence. Which, when you're part of the Golden 10,000, is saying a lot. The 10th edition Codex makes it clear that there are Eyes who served not for decades, but for centuries and even millennia. And in a few cases, we get names. 3 to be precise. First up is Cheleda Zingria, who's described as a profound martial philosopher, which immediately makes me picture some terrifying blend of Sun Tzu, Bruce Lee, and a demigod with a halberd. It's such a vague, evocative title, but it screams mastery. The philosophy of violence, war as art, the Custodian martial katars as living scripture. That kind of vibe. Then there's Xenobari Metmaxus, a former Blade champion. We don't get a lot of detail on him, but the title tells us a lot. Blade champions are rare, even among the Custodes. They wield Archaeotech vault swords. They're masters of every known form of melee combat, and embody the martial katars like no one else. These are the kinds of warriors who either cleave through entire armies solo, or go straight for the enemy's biggest, baddest warrior. A lot less spy stuff, and a lot more ripping and tearing until it is done. But the eye that really stood out to me, maybe the most fascinating of them all, is Protogathene Zul, or just Zul. To get why he's so interesting, you need to understand what a custodian lock warden is. So here's a quick version. There's a shield host within the custodies called the Shadow Keepers. Their job is guarding the dark cells, massive eldritch vaults beneath the Imperial Palace that contain horrors you can't begin to imagine. And when those horrors escape, it's the Shadow Keepers who are sent to get them back. Now, the lock warden is the custodian who leads the Shadow Keepers, the one who gets called when something too dangerous for normal forces breaks loose. The current lock warden is a man named Borsa Thirsk, and he's held the role for nearly 2 centuries. But Zul was a lock warden long before Borsa, potentially thousands of years before him, and now he's an eye of the Emperor. He's been one for so long that he's almost certainly outlived multiple generations of lock wardens. Think about that for a moment. The kind of experience this guy must have, the stuff he's seen. He's been hunting and containing warp-spawned nightmares since before a lot of Imperial worlds even had names. The only other person who's probably encountered as many demonic or eldritch threats as him is likely none other than Kaldor Drago. What I love about all of this is how it shows just how diverse and far-reaching the eyes of the Emperor can be. They're not just observers, they're not just shadow agents. They're philosophers, executioners, generals, and monster hunters. And for some of them, like Zul, like Metmaxus, like Zingria, it's not just a job, it's their true calling. There's one last bit of lore from the 10th edition Custodes Codex that blew me away. And it might just be one of the most interesting developments for the eyes of the Emperor in the whole setting. It takes place in an area called the Cabrexis Reach, a remote and dangerous region of the galaxy. Things have gotten so bad for humanity out there that an unknown number of eyes of the Emperor have banded together and formed what is essentially an unofficial shield host.
That's terrifying.
A whole warband of Custodes, formerly operating as eyes, now fighting as a cohesive unit, naming themselves the Eyes Unblinded. These aren't just golden warriors skulking in the shadows anymore. They're in full Auramite warplate, black robes, likely heavily augmented with cybernetics, and are throwing themselves headfirst into battle against full-blown heretic incursions. The Codex specifically says they're wearing golden armor, which is a really important detail. It confirms that the eyes of the Emperor can retain their warplate, not just their weapons. That alone opens a ton of doors for what eyes of the Emperor might look like in the field. But more than that, it's crazy to think that there's a force of post-human, heavily augmented ex-custodians out there who, visually, probably look a lot like the Iron Hands, but golden, with these great black robes. It's one of those little lore drops that hints at something way bigger. If Games Workshop ever decides to explore Cabrexis Reach further, or give us models for the Eyes Unblinded, I think I'd lose my mind.
That.
Because right now, somewhere, in the darkest reaches of the Imperium, there's a group of golden demigods absolutely tearing into the worst Chaos has to offer. Thank you all so much for watching. And remember to click the link in the description or to scan the QR code on the screen to download Warhammer 40,000 Tacticus now.
Very
for
cool.
the Emperor. Behind every paragraph and reference in these videos, there's a mountain of research, editing.
Yes. Go follow, go like. Let me link you guys the video. Pretty awesome video. I like that. It was well thought out, well deserved. Technically, he's kind of a VTuber if you think about it. He's a PNG tuber, so he's you know, technically he's a VTuber. You can't convince me otherwise. Let me look at one thing. Okay. That was good. That was the good stuff. Yeah, he is technically a VTuber. Technically a VTuber. He can't dispute that. How long is the Yarrick one? I have things to do, unfortunately. Yeah, you got here just in time for the end of the stream. I will add it to my list of videos to watch, because there's a lot of stuff I got to get through. There's a lot of stuff I have to prepare for, because guess what? Saturday, Spider Dad's gonna be on stream, so I gotta make sure everything looks good. I also have to clean my room because my dad's gonna be in here and I want it to look nice. I want it to look nice. I've already started doing some things. I'm hanging up some of my art that I've not hung up in a hot minute, so we're hanging up the art. We're getting a lot of stuff done. It's just yeah, 9 a.m. Pacific time on Saturday. Yes. My dad will be on stream and he will be answering your questions. If you want to have your question answered by Spider Dad within reason, you can submit your questions. I will link you guys the form. Copy link. There you go. You can find it on the Discord server, but there is the link for the form. I'm closing it tomorrow evening. So I'm not accepting anything after Thursday or Friday. That doesn't mean we won't read or answer people's questions as they appear in chat. So you're just gonna have to see what Spider Dad looks like. He'll have like official art. Official art will be revealed. Hi, the Sanguinius Dakimakura. I do not have one, but I've thought about making one. I would much rather you guys have a Sanguinius Daki than an Aurelia Daki, because come on, don't you want Sanguinius on your bed? If you say yes, we're gonna have a problem. Because that's my husband. You can't talk about him like that. I don't want Sanguinius. Good. Aha, it was a trap. I want Yark as a pillow. Oh, okay. So you're into older guys? Yeah? Yeah. Maybe. Let's see. Let me look at the Twitch, see if there's anyone we can raid into tonight. It is a Tuesday. Let's see. No, let's well, let me think. You know what? Let's give Mel some love. Let's give Mel some love. So, thank you guys for coming. There are no streams until Saturday. So I apologize, you're gonna have to wait, but you are going to love the stream. My dad is excited. I am excited. I've got to do cleaning. Okay? You're gonna like it. It's gonna be a good time. I think good times will be had by all. So yeah, now chat. Don't skip leg day. Okay? I gotta go do my arm workout after this. I'm not looking forward to it because I'm tired, but I need to do it. So buckle up and do your workout, okay? Okay? I will see you later. Bye.